would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah. Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand. Ay, we on overtime, you don't need to understand. Ay, you just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right. Hey, please don't play no games with me. I promise I'm too much. Hey, I can never let up even if you had enough. Hey, this ain't for the faint of heart. We always playing rough. I had enough, it ain't luck. I needed a vision, I needed ambition, I needed a mission to beat a submission with no intermission. I see the collision, the crash in the distance, they coming off track, no. Now when they ask what's the motive, don't talk about the show. They all about to see what I mean in the moment. I gotta keep going, I'm shaking the dice and I'm keeping it rolling. They already know. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand. Ay, we on overtime, you don't need to understand. Ay, you just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right.
All right. Salute. We are there, man. Clap it up, man. Clap it up. Still getting over a little bit of this head cold. It feels like I got a little bit of a head cold that I'm getting over, but we are good. We in the building. We will stay on top of this. Listen, man, this event right here, I don't want to say it's a once in a lifetime moment here, but you know, these buildups tend to start to feel like that sometimes. And maybe it is. We don't know, right? History will better tell us what we're running into tomorrow. Hindsight will always be 2020, but man, it feels right. It's got that feeling. The needle's being moved. This is an exciting moment in boxing right now. As a community, we are here together right now, potentially witnessing historical milestones being accomplished in the boxing space right now. And I know for some people it may seem like we're being a little extreme here. Maybe it's not that for you, but I got to be honest with myself. That's up to you guys to be honest with yourselves. For me personally, that's the kind of feeling I'm getting, right? That's the kind of feeling I'm getting as the weigh-ins are now out of the way. We saw both guys hit the scales, 167.5 each one of these guys. Crawford made the weight pretty easily. Looked great, by the way. Crawford looked great on the scale today. It makes you think about a lot of things, right? Because you think about this guy fought at 135 at one point in time, unified and became undisputed at 140, went up to 147, did the same exact thing, and then took it to the next spot at 154, earned him a title where people felt like he looked a little pedigree. He looked a little pedestrian, a little regular, but regardless, 4-weight class champion, 2-weight class undisputed champion, and made this weight, got on that scale, looked great. Canelo looked great as well. He looked a little, we'll talk about it, right? We'll talk about that as well. A bunch of other things popping off as well in the boxing space, but we got our eyes focused directly on this moment right now. So let's stay dialed in, man. Oh, there he is. I do have I got 2 guests actually popping up tonight, right? Supposedly Blue Blood, he's over there in Las Vegas right now. He called me this morning. He said, Clay, send me the link. I want to go ahead and I want to get on a live with you while I'm at the weigh-ins, at the ceremonial weigh-ins. He wanted to give us a little bit of on the ground exposure to what's going on out there. He's telling me that it is bananas in Las Vegas right now. He says it is absolutely upside down. Anybody who's trying to sell the idea that this fight right here isn't in demand. People don't want to see it. People aren't interested. You couldn't be more off. You couldn't be more off. I've talked to multiple people I've got down there in Vegas right now, and the city is on fire. Las Vegas is on legitimate fire right now, man, anticipating this event. Shout out to my brother Marcus Rosa of the Pivot Gym in Philadelphia, my guy Mazuma TV. You guys know what it is, man. This dude right here, I don't need it. I mean, I say it every time. Anytime you see this guy on here, I do this crazy intro. I do this crazy ass intro, and I tell you guys the story. If you don't know about now, you're not paying attention. It's my guy, Mazuma TV, man.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, we're doing good, man. We're doing good, man. Great to see you in the building, man. It's great to see you in the building. I know you got to be dialed in. This is one of those moments, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like I said, hindsight will tell us better what this is right now that we're looking at and what it means to the sport. But it has that feeling about it, at least right at this point. It has that feeling about it. How you feeling tonight, man?
I'm just as excited as you are, Clay. This is a fight that I'm not gonna lie. It was a fight that I really was against initially. It was a fight that I wasn't really too, interested in because I felt like Canelo Alvarez had different things that he needed to be focused on. At 168, especially when Benavidez was around. Then Terrence Crawford. I would have, at one point in time, I was actually, pressed on him fighting other guys at 154, especially with how stacked that division is. He was just getting his feet wet in the division. So I was really just like, there's other work that could be done here. But since we've seen like the buildup between these two guys and, seeing how, Terrence Crawford has been able to acclimate to the division thus far, just made me more and more excited. And especially after the William Skull performance, I was like, okay, Terrence Crawford could definitely have some success if Canelo Alvarez carries it that way September 13th, which is tomorrow. So ever since I started to feel a little bit optimistic about Terrence Crawford's chances, I've been more open to it. And look, man, you saying that Las Vegas is upside down, I heard something very similar as well from people that I know that are over there. I got a friend of mine who just landed over there a few hours ago, and he said that it's turned, it's lit. So it's looking like there's going to be a whole lot of people over there. The media is there. They're covering it. The media was getting a little spicy at the press conference yesterday. So, the tension is thick out there. And I think what's making really people more excited than anything, you just let me know, Clay, if I'm tripping or what. But it's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what's going to happen, and it's a competitive fight when they're interviewing the pros and they pretty much split down the middle on what they think is going to win. That's how you went for a hell of a fight. And I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, without a doubt, I agree with you. This is like the unknown. Like shout out to my guy Angelo Reyes is always reminding us whenever we're talking about this sport right here that we don't, there's what you know, right? There's what you don't know, then there's an unknowns, right? Like we don't know what we don't know, and certain boxes have to get checked tomorrow. We know there's a power size difference that we're expecting. This is what the narrative's been at the center of the stage has been Terrence Crawford going up. Some people say 2-weight classes, some people say 3-weight classes, right? If you don't want to acknowledge his fight with Madrimov, and that's what makes it intriguing because we also know that Terrence Crawford is at a high level as far as IQ is concerned, as far as what he brings to the table there. So a part of me, well, first of all, I'm going for Terrence, right? That's who I want to win this fight. And there's multiple reasons. Obviously, I support him as a fighter, but also I just really would love to see how a fighter comes up from, 2-weight classes down there and really just show the world a high level of boxing that really reprograms and recalibrates the minds of some casual fans about this whole size matters things, right? Because I agree, size matters, right? I agree. Pause, right? Let me double pause, triple pause on that if it needs it. But I agree that as we go up in weight, this makes a difference, right? They made, like the saying goes, they made weight classes for a reason. There's no secret. But every now and then, Mazuma, there's what we call a special fighter. And with special fighters, for me, it's like they operate under a little bit different rules. Certain rules they don't necessarily abide by, and we see it every now and then. Historically, we've seen Roberto Duran do it. You just see special fighters every now and then just kind of defy the laws of gravity a little bit, right? Defy the laws of what we know boxing to be. And I think we have a moment right now where we can see something like that. So that's exciting. That is definitely exciting within itself. Let me ask you a question, though, Mark. Everybody talks about the size, and Canelo Alvarez got interviewed, and he spoke to how Max Kellerman did a great job interviewing him, and he asked him about, listen, ever since when you used to be at 160, 154, you fought differently. He talked about him looking like a little bit like a James Toney, a lot of movement. You know what I'm saying? He was way more athletic, it felt like. But he said when he got up to 168, he became more of a walk down of his opponent. He wasn't so worried about the speed of the opponent. And Canelo admitted it, right? He said, yeah, because those guys aren't that fast. Those guys weren't fast in me. I didn't have to worry about that. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, so it is safe to say that Canelo Alvarez won't be fighting Terrence Crawford like he's fought any other 168-pound fighter before.
Well, he definitely shouldn't take the same approach that he's taking with these bigger, slower guys. You know, this is a time where, you know, Canelo Alvarez is going to have to pick up his feet. He's going to have to utilize the upper body movement. He's going to have to punch in combinations. And I've seen the changes that he's been making in the camp, little subtle changes that I'm seeing like on the pad work and stuff like that. Because prior to facing Terrence Crawford, a lot of his drills were based off of like, you know, punching power, loading up, not really necessarily using the jab or utilizing defense before and after the combinations. Now I'm seeing this pad work with Eddie Reynoso, and that was more like combination based and, you know, defense oriented. So I could definitely tell just based off of the little changes that he's making in camp, especially with the sparring partners that he's brought along, whether we talking about Yo-Yo, whether we talking about Darrell Val-Saint,
Jerron.
most notably, he's taking this very serious and he's changing some things up because I think he understands just as well as everybody else understands that Terrence Crawford is a high level fighter. So you can't just take the same approach that you took with like Billy Joe Saunders or Caleb Plant or, you know, Edgar Berlanga. No, there's things that need to be switched up because if you take that same approach, you might get outpointed. You might get embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? So I think he understands that Crawford is a smaller guy in terms of being in the smaller weight classes, and he's going to have to use his hands more. You know, that walking to you with the high guard approach, you know, Terrence Crawford is somebody who I've seen in previous fights punch through the high guard, punch around the high guard. Guys who attempt to pressure him like Earl Spence, he'll step around them. He'll time them coming in with shots. So I think that Canelo Alvarez and his team have been watching film. They're taking this very serious, despite what Canelo Alvarez is saying. And I think they understand that Terrence Crawford is a special fighter, and special fighters historically have been able to move up multiple divisions and defeat these quote unquote bigger, stronger guys. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Roberto Duran. We seen Shane Mosley do it with Oscar De La Hoya. You know, prime Shane Mosley was a special fighter. You know, Roberto Duran, one of the greatest of all time. You know, even when if you want to resort to, you know, Sugar Ray Leonard moving up in weight and defeating Marvin Hagler when he was at the top of his game, you know, These are special fighters that we're mentioning. And, you know, Terrence Crawford hasn't really had the opportunity like those other guys due to the politics of boxing. However, he is about as well-rounded as can be. And in my eyes, he's a special fighter. So I think that's why a lot of people are excited. They know that he's capable of doing it. It's just with the intangibles that you're speaking on, is he able to, you know, overcome the odds?
Yeah, man, I love it, man. And that's definitely what makes the fight intriguing personally to me, right? And it's funny because you said everybody knows, but, you know, as we're getting closer to the fight, it does feel like everybody knows, but there was a point in time where it seemed like everybody didn't know that, right? Where people just like, this fight was ridiculous and didn't make any sense. It would be a cherry pick for Canelo Alvarez. And there was even a point in time where Canelo Alvarez spoke about how insignificant the fight was to him, how it would mean nothing to him to beat this guy up. You know, this guy's special down there, but this is a whole different game up here. Canelo Alvarez took the opportunity. Turkey Al-Sheikh offered him the right amount of money that you know, you just how does the old saying go with the mob? Say he gave him that offer that he can't refuse, and he's here in this fight. And you let me know what you think, though. But it seems like Canelo put himself in a situation to where it's like, all right, you took the money. Be careful what you signed for, because there's a lot of pressure on this situation for Canelo Alvarez. Losing to a Terrence Crawford right now, to a fighter coming up 2 weight classes, outclassing him, embarrassing him in front of the world. There's a lot of pressure on him in front of maybe the biggest crowd that he's ever performed against. I'm hearing numbers north of 60,000 people are going to be inside of Allegiant Stadium. Dana White just did an interview recently with Stephen A. Smith where he said he heard there was less than 3,000 tickets available for sale for this event. So this is a big pressure. Everybody's here. This is the Canelo show. Terrence Crawford's come to derail the whole entire show. Speak on pressure. Speak on the psychology of both these guys in the ring tomorrow night and what these guys are going to have to fight through and just, be the ultimate professionals and still over the adversity perform. Speak on the pressure.
Well, I'm gonna speak on Terrence Crawford's mentality first. We all know that Terrence Crawford is a psycho competitor. He just happens to be one of those people. There's people that's, competitive, but to, a certain level. And then you got the ones that it don't matter what it is, they need to win. Whether they playing dominoes, they could be playing air hockey, handball, whatever game you talking about. Terrence Crawford, even if he's never played it before, he genuinely believes that he could beat anybody at anything. And he's the type that, from what I heard, he could lose 1,000 times and he will keep playing you until he finds a way to win. So you talking about somebody who is as stubborn and competitive as Terrence Crawford, he's going to go into this fight with no type of negativity whatsoever. He fully believes in his heart that he has everything it takes to defeat Canelo Alvarez. And somebody with that, especially when you 41-0 like Terrence Crawford, it's hard to really take that confidence away from them. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who, is set in their ways and genuinely believe that they cannot be beat, especially if they're well prepared. Canelo Alvarez is going to have to deal with that. And Canelo Alvarez understands that because I heard him say in interviews that this isn't going to be easy because Terrence Crawford has fight in him. And I genuinely believe that Terrence Crawford don't got a survival mode in him. I genuinely don't believe that. I think he would rather go out, trying before he goes into some type of survival mode like a Jermell Charlo did, like a William Skull did. You know what I mean? So that's his mentality. He's confident. He's well prepared, and he's the ultimate competitor. So that's the mentality that Crawford has, and that's what Canelo Alvarez has to deal with. Now, on Canelo Alvarez's end, he's definitely competitive as well. But at the same time, he just, you could tell he's very confident, and he just comes across as like this dude who he just feels like he's the superior. Nobody in his eyes, he was the guy that took over after Mayweather. He's accomplished all these things. He's beat all of these world champions. There's nothing that you're going to bring to the table that he has never seen before. At least that's his mentality. So that gives him the ultimate confidence. Crawford, he's confident from a competitive aspect. Like he just feels like, it don't matter what we do, I'm going to win. Canelo's confidence comes from his experience and what he's been through in his career and being professional since he was 15 years old. This is where his confidence stems from. So they're both confident, but in different ways. Canelo Alvarez got more of like a calm demeanor to him, and Bud is like he got some like some dog in him, like some intensity about him. You can see it, when he's at these, especially at that final press conference,
like a little chip on his shoulder, a little bit, right? Like a little chip.
Exactly, and that's a chip that he's had on his shoulder since his childhood, and how the way his mother would approach him and would show him that tough love and stuff like that. And the constant theme that has occurred throughout Terrence Crawford's life is proving you wrong. You see what I'm saying? So that's how he's feeling in this situation. Canelo is calm, cool, confident. Feels like he's seen it all, and he feels like he's going to prepare properly, but he's going to feel at the same time that Terrence Crawford is no different.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you basically is these guys are the ultimate professionals, and you see it even in the buildup of the press conferences. There's not that much shit talking, right? There's no mud being slang at each other. It got a little choppy, like a couple of the first press conference when Canelo brought up the resume and things of that nature. And that still was some respect up in there. But that being said, great segue. to speak on the resume, and a lot of triangle theories have been applied here on trying to figure out what's going to happen in this fight. People have brought up Canelo Alvarez's recent last 5 fights, and also obviously brought up some of the best fights he's ever been in, whether it was Floyd Mayweather, whether it was Dimitri Bivol, whether it was Erislandy Lara. Some of the fights I feel like apply. Some of them I don't know. Has he been aged out? It seems like Canelo Alvarez is going to tap into a bag that he may have not tapped into for a long time. What do you think about that? You know, like going back a little bit, Eddie Reynoso says the best Canelo we've seen in 20 years. That's kind of crazy. 35 years old, the best Canelo that we've seen in 20 years makes me feel like they went into an old bag that they haven't been into in a long time. And that being said, when we're talking about muscle memory, when we're talking about being able to turn back the clock a little bit and be somebody who you haven't been in a long time, is that something that's going to be, that may be an issue for Canelo in this fight, that ultimately may be changing his stripes or changing his game in the 9th inning per se, particularly? Like, how do you feel about that?
It might be very difficult to go back into that bag, you know, considering the age and the time that has went by. And I think it's safe to say at this point in time that Canelo Alvarez has slowed down in comparison to like his days at 160 and 155, 154 pounds, because, you know, he was doing that little catch weight. They called it Canelo weight, 155. You know, we don't really see that with Canelo Alvarez anymore. And, you know, what he's going through, that second chapter that he's reached in his career, you know, a lot of fighters done went through that phase. You know, most historically, Floyd Mayweather, he was a combination puncher, finisher early in his career, and he had to make some changes because he got older. You know, wear and tear causes you to change. Look at Erislandy Lara. He was a big mover, outboxer, you know, showing high ring IQ and, you know, setting traps and beautiful counters. Now we're seeing Erislandy Lara, who's in his 40s now, the oldest champion in boxing. He's, you know, settling his feet down and being like a sniper with that left hand and getting finishes that he wasn't getting early in his career. Andre Ward, I felt like he used his feet a lot more when he was younger at 168 than at 175. You know, he kind of like, he planted his feet more and was, you know, a lot more efficient with his energy. I think Canelo Alvarez has hit that point where, you know, he's older. He's not training as hard, you know, to get this weight off. I think he's at more of a comfortable weight than he was at 160 and 154. So I think like it's more about just being more efficient with his tools. He may be capable of bringing those tools out and you know, bringing back the old Canelo, but how consistently can he do that for 12 rounds? You know, when he was at 154, he had to get, it was bound for him to get in such great shape because he was cutting a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? And when you cutting that weight, that's what really builds your grit, your determination, and gets you into a different type of shape. If you work out to get this weight off, you're gonna reach a certain level of cardio that, you know, you'll be able to, you know, let your hands go more and utilize your upper body movement more. That's very taxing in the energy department.
Right.
I think at 168, since he's not training as hard to get the weight off, you know, he has to be a little bit more economical with his stamina. And when you get older, you know, it's really work smarter, not harder. Because, you know, when you get older and you start training like you a young dude, that's when injuries build up. And that's another thing. Canelo Alvarez he's picked up a few injuries. I've seen him have several surgeries, you know, like the knee injury that he had to get surgery on for Triple G. I think he had like a wrist injury around the time that he fought John Ryder. You know, things of that nature. He got some wear and tear on his body. So do I believe that he could turn the clock back and, you know, be the old Canelo? I think he could bring those old tools out. I just don't think that they'll be at the level that it was when he was at 160 and 154.
Man, that's a great some great perspective and a great breakdown right there, because I'll be honest with you. I asked myself the question, all right, if you do try to get into that bag, are you doing a little too much? Are you going to overextend yourself? We got 12 rounds of a potential one of the most competitive fights you've been in your career. You want to pace yourself out. I believe Terrence Crawford does hold the cards when it comes to that part of the conversation. I think he's more used to that pace and more used to that cerebral space that I think Canelo Alvarez may have to be in this fight. And that's another part about it is that mental mental space, that cerebral stress. I don't know if if you have any opinion on that, because there's a physical conditioning, but then there's the mental conditioning. When he fought against Dimitri Bivol, let me know how you felt about it, because for me, it looked like mentally he kind of broke down in that fight, right? Like, it was one thing for the physical part of the game where Dimitri Bivol was dominating him, being the dare I say, a faster guy, a more efficient boxer than Canelo was in there. But there was a point in time where, for me, it felt like this guy broke down mentally and just kind of went into that high guard, went into that shell, pinned his back against those ropes, and just kind of hoped Dimitri Bivol would overcommit somewhere and he could just catch him with a shot in the middle of everything. How's the mental aspect of this game going to be for Canelo Alvarez if he chooses to box and get into this cerebral warfare with Terence Crawford? And is he better off just pressing Terence, trying to be the bigger fighter and put that pressure on Terence? What do you think about that?
Well, in the Dimitri Bivol fight, it looked like it was a combination of like physical fatigue and mental fatigue. I think that Canelo Alvarez, I think he has a limited gas tank as he continues to go up in divisions. So I think that when he's forced to fight outside of his pace, he fatigues quicker. And I think that Dimitri Bivol, somebody who's not a one-punch knockout artist from what I've seen, but he knows how to put those combinations together. And with him being like physically bigger than Canelo and just overwhelming him with volume, I think that put Canelo in a space where he had to let his hands go earlier than he had anticipated and fatigued as a result. When he realized that Dimitri Bivol wasn't falling into his type of game and he was fighting his fight, because that's the thing about Canelo too. He's been in a lot of fights where he's had his way. You know what I'm saying? Where, he had the experience necessary to get guys to fight at his pace and, able to get these guys respect once he lands a big shot on them. There was nothing he could do with Bivol that overwhelmed Bivol in the slightest. And Bivol had all the tools necessary to neutralize whatever Canelo was doing, whether we talking about the hand speed, whether we talking about the footwork, the size, the punch resistance. You know what I'm saying? It was a little bit of both with Canelo Alvarez in that situation. Now, with Terence Crawford, there's definitely going to be times, especially if Crawford decides to pick up his feet, where Canelo is going to be going through it from a mental aspect. I can see him getting frustrated throughout certain parts of the fight because Crawford is going to make sure that, he's going to be a moving target throughout the course of the fight and not really give Canelo Alvarez that many opportunities. And if he does, he's going to be looking to time him, keep the jab in his face and things of that nature. So it's definitely going to be a difficult fight for him to get through. But if I'm Canelo Alvarez, or if I'm in somebody, and I did a three keys with Mazuma TV, I did that segment on my channel, and I said one of the things that Canelo Alvarez has to do in order to be successful is, he has to make this an inside fight. He has to make it a physical fight for Terence Crawford. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done. But, if you're Canelo Alvarez, you definitely want to test the new physique at 168, and whether, that's just for the pictures, or is he really in dog shape? Like, we definitely got to figure this out if, we're in Canelo Alvarez's space. You feel what I mean? So it could definitely be difficult considering all the tools that Terence Crawford has. However, it's something that, Canelo Alvarez could there's things that Canelo Alvarez could do to make the fight easier. And I don't think that he's going to have much success at long range or mid range. I think that this has to be an inside fight, and he's going to have to get physical and show his presence from a size standpoint, or at least showing him like, yo, I'm the more experienced guy at this weight. Let me show you some shit that you ain't never seen before.
Yeah. You think taking control early in this fight is important for both fighters to take control, to not allow the will of the other fighter to be pressed through? If Canelo's coming, in my opinion, I picture these guys meeting each other in the middle of the ring, right? And I think there's going to be a discussion, and there's going to be an understanding that happens inside those first 2 to 3 rounds, right? There's going to be an understanding about who's running the show, who's stronger, who's threatened. Bud is going to have to figure out how he's going to deal with the power of Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez is going to have to deal with whatever the outcome is as far as from Terence Bud Crawford's point of view. Where do you see the most important rounds in this fight are out of these 12? What are the most important rounds to kind of like get this show moving in the right direction for either fighter?
Well, if anybody needs to win the early rounds, I'm going to just say this right now. It's Terence Crawford. And the reason why is because historically, Canelo Alvarez has gotten like these judges to favor him in fights that were extremely close or at least controversial, or both. You see what I'm saying? So if you're Terrence Crawford, and he said this on interviews too, so I know that he's in the right state of mind. You know what I mean? He knows historically that Canelo has gotten a lot of close decisions. Whether we talking about the Arizlandi Lara fight, whether we talking like he got a split. What was it, like a majority decision? He lost, but one judge had it a draw between him and Floyd. You know what I'm saying? And that was a majority decision that went in Floyd's direction when it should have been a unanimous decision, a clear unanimous decision. Then we look at the second Triple G fight. That was close. You can make a case that Triple G probably won that fight as well. But guess what? It favored Canelo Alvarez. So if anybody needs to win these early rounds, like from these judges, it's Terrence Crawford without a shadow of a doubt. So yeah. I'm gonna just say that. I forgot what the other question was.
No, but I mean the important rounds. You pretty much answered the question.
Oh, I think it's gonna be the later ones. I think it's gonna be those championship rounds because I could see it being a situation where, in these early rounds, Crawford's having success, and then Canelo might land a good body shot or whatever, and it might be some rounds that could go either way. So going into like the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, from that standpoint, it could really be a close bout. Could really go either way. So it's really, I think, in all honesty, if it goes that far, it's going to come down to, and I know it's cliche, but who wants it more? Who's going to be in better shape? Who's going to bite down and make the difference throughout the rounds? You know what I'm saying? So if I had to guess, I think the later rounds are going to be the ones that's going to ultimately decide who wins the fight.
It could swing it one way or the other, and I completely agree with you, man. I think early on, respect has to be established, but I think those last couple of rounds are going to be very important, man. And it's going to take that extra, and I think we might see that. It might come down to that. But that being said, we're talking about it going 12 rounds. People obviously believe in Canelo Alvarez can stop Terrence Crawford, and Terrence needs to be aware of that power. How do you feel about the argument being made? We saw Tim Bradley talk about it, and we've seen a couple other pundits in the space speak on the ability of Terrence Crawford to hurt Canelo Alvarez or stop Canelo Alvarez. Some people say it's very possible because timing is everything, and a lot of people just feel like, nah, Canelo has the hardest chin in the game. Nobody's been able to put him down. Terrence Crawford's not going to come up multiple weight classes to do that, even though I have my own theory behind that body campaign. I'm not too sure how committed I've seen people to Canelo's body. But that being said, though, how do you feel about the chances of Terrence Crawford being able to get a big upset like that to actually stop Canelo Alvarez or even sit him on his pockets?
Well, I think that it'll be absolutely shocking if Terrence Crawford was able to do either or, whether it's knock down or even stop Canelo Alvarez, considering all the big punches that, Canelo Alvarez done been in the ring with and things of that nature. But one thing I am going to say is that this is boxing. And there's been plenty of times where we thought things weren't going to happen, and they happen. I would have never envisioned that Earl Spencer would hit the canvas that many times in that Terrence Crawford fight. But guess what? It happened. And I'm going to also say this, Clay, there's more than one way to stop somebody. You don't need to concuss anybody to get a stoppage. You don't even have to put them off their feet. You don't even got to sit them down to get the stoppage. Speed is power. Speed is power. So if Terrence Crawford is capable of using his hand speed and putting these combinations together that Canelo doesn't see, yeah, he could do some accumulative damage and possibly get a stoppage. Another way that a lot of people are not talking about is cuts. Cuts can definitely get fights stopped. When them doctors get involved and they feel like it's not in a fighter's best interest to continue, that's another way that you could get a stoppage. Or if your coach not liking what he's seeing, he can stop the fight. Now, I'm not saying that Eddie would do that. You know what I mean? I think a little bit of that Mexicano pride might get in the way of that happening. However, cuts do happen, and Canelo has been cut historically. So it could be a situation where Crawford times Canelo with a beautiful shot, opens up a cut, and is bleeding profusely to the point where, a cut man's not capable of, saving that cut. And now they got to make a decision. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and since we talking about, Mexicans and stuff like that, look what happened with De La Hoya and Chavez. That was a huge fight.
Right.
Huge fight that was stopped due to a cut. You see what I mean? So these things are very possible. So, yeah, Clay, like, it's very hard for me to visualize that. Crawford getting stopped, but it's not impossible. I'll tell you that. It's definitely not it's not impossible at all.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's very possible. I think what we don't know is very important in this conversation, because those areas, those, like Teddy Atlas said, those rooms in the house that we've never been in before, really have a lot of profound impact on the ability, one way or the other, for this fight, on how this fight's going to move, how he deals with the power, how his power translates, how does Canelo deal with all those different things, man. That's crazy. That being said, the weigh-ins were this morning, right? The weigh-ins went down this morning. Did you get an opportunity to see those weigh-ins?
Yes, I did. I did see it. And there was two things that I noticed. A lot of people just talking about Terrence Crawford physique and how the way he looked. And I spoke about that on my channel as well.
Mm-hmm.
But what I noticed on Canelo Alvarez's end is he looked a little bit more trim than he has been in these past few fights too. He especially like, and I pay attention to the abdominal area, you know what I mean? Because that gives me a good indication of, you know, how you've been working your core and things of that nature. And Canelo, he definitely looked a little bit more trim than he has been in these previous fights, and I think that's what's letting me know that he took this very serious. And to be honest, when you're looking at Canelo's situation, do you want to be known as that great champion that lost to somebody who moved up 2-3 weight classes? Like, no, we don't want to go out like Antonio Tarver did with B-Hop. We don't want to see those things.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, well, at least Canelo doesn't. I would love to see it, but I'm sure Canelo doesn't. So that's why he's preparing properly, so he could have a good performance. You feel me? But I seen that Canelo was he looked a little bit more trim than usual. That's one thing I will say. Looked like a little bit like 160 Canelo in terms of how, you know, how his abs look and things like that. Terrence Crawford looked to be in absolutely phenomenal shape. You know what I mean? Absolutely phenomenal shape. Now, how that translates in the ring, that has yet to be seen. However, whoever did his strength training did a great job of not putting too much muscle on him, but just looking like defined. You know what I mean? Like it did a really great job with that. Didn't make him too top heavy. It looked like his weight is like evenly distributed, like throughout his, you know, his shoulders, chest, abs, legs, arms. You know what I'm saying? So he looks to be in phenomenal shape. Look like he could actually belong in that division. You know, we're not seeing like no gut. We're not seeing like, you know, the abdominal area like filled with water where we having a hard time seeing the abs. No, we seeing a ripped Terrence Crawford at 167 pounds. They did a great job with his strength and conditioning. So salute to whoever did that. And Crawford may very well just have really good genetics. It could be a combination of a lot of those things. But one thing that I'm gonna say without any type of doubt in my mind, he trained his ass off.
Yeah, man, and that rides true with what people speak on about when they talk about Terrence Crawford, and those intangibles that people don't get to see is the fact that people like Shakur Stevenson, Andre Ward, Keyshawn Davis, people who actually been in the gym with him, Steve Nelson, they speak about his work ethic. They speak about how relentless he is inside that gym and how he leaves no stone unturned. And he is a leader amongst men, right? Men follow this guy into war. They believe in him because he earns it, because he leads by example. So that's something that he brings to the table as well. That's an intangible, the clean lifestyle, the no drinking, the no smoking, the just checking all the boxes on everything you want, you need to do to be physically optimized to the best. Whatever your body can deliver, you're gonna make sure it delivers on that night. Yeah, I thought the weight cut looked great, man. I thought Terrence looked awesome. I mean, going up to 168, you wondered what it was going to be like. 167.5 on his side. I thought he might come in a little bit lower than that. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought he might have came in like 166-ish, 166.5. Potentially, but he didn't, right? We got Max Kellerman just walked out onto the stage, packed out building, but T-Mobile Arena. But yeah, but he did it. He came in at the 167.5. What did you think about that as far as Terrence coming in at 167.5, damn near 168? What were you expecting? Okay.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought that he was going to come in a bit lighter himself. You know, I thought that he was going to come around like 165, 166. Because in my mind, I thought that he wanted to at least be a little lighter so he could maintain some type of agility, you know, have some type of speed. You feel what I'm saying? But obviously his team is confident that even being close to the weight that they can still maintain, you know, their foot speed, their hand speed, their conditioning. So that's just a choice that they choose to make. But we all know that, you know, a few pounds can make a huge difference in the sport of boxing. You see what I'm saying? Those additional pounds could make Terrence Crawford sluggish. them additional pounds can make Terrence Crawford just a little bit more powerful. So everybody's different. You know what I mean? You got to play a case by case when it comes to that, because weight. There's some people that do better with less weight on them. There's people that, do better with a little bit more weight on them. We're just gonna have to wait and see exactly how. That's the whole thing. Like, we could speculate, we could talk about this all day.
Exactly.
We don't know, and I wish I did know, but I don't. You know what I mean? There's no reassurance on my side. I haven't been given any reassurance that with this additional weight that this can help Terrence Crawford or harm Terrence Crawford. I have no clue. You know what I'm saying? But their team knows more than anything. They're not going to say anything publicly as of right now. But if they came in at that weight, they confident. They know something.
I agree. And I think that's another part of this game that people don't talk about enough is I always respected Terrence Crawford's transparency and his honesty. And what I mean by that is I don't believe he takes his fight if he doesn't think he can win this fight, right? That being said, you have to ask yourself and say, okay, well, at one point, Terrence Crawford said that he didn't want this fight. I remember the interview where he said they make weight classes for a reason. He walked away from this and said, come on, man, you guys are doing too much. I mean, I'm great. I'm nice. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, how I give it up. You know what I mean? I stay active, but, weight classes for a reason. Canelo Alvarez, big puncher, 168. I don't need to be going anywhere near there, but something changed his mind. Something had him return back to the drawing board and say, you know what? This dude is well within my realm. I can get at this dude. I'm very interested in seeing what it is that he saw, but do you think Terrence saw something that changed his mind? How did you feel about that? Or was this exclusively about the money? Do you think he just chased the bag? Or do you think him and his team really saw something in Canelo Alvarez that they felt like they can, take advantage of a loophole of some sort in there in Canelo Alvarez's approach to the game?
I told you, Clay, Crawford is a psycho competitor, man. So one thing is he might have felt one way at one moment, but then he probably watched a couple Canelo fights. And he like, man, I could beat him. And I guarantee you that's what really created the whole idea. Like, you know what, man, let me actually try to get this fight because I see some things. You know what I'm saying? Like Mikey Garcia seen some things with Spence. Remember that? I see something. Terrence Crawford sees something. And I don't know if it's because they like, oh, well, Canelo, he fights at this weight, but he's not that big of a guy. You see what I'm saying? Or, yeah, man, like Canelo, he's a good fighter, but he's slowing down. Or, this is a tough fight, but it's the type of money that I'm looking for. Because we know that when he was at top rank, he wasn't getting paid what he felt like he deserved.
Right.
He felt like he was cut out of a lot of opportunities. So I feel like right now he's just trying to make up for lost time in terms of, finances.
Right. 100%.
So it could be a combination of them feeling like, Canelo's not that big, he slowed down, or it's just, like you said, some type of money that, they couldn't refuse, an opportunity they couldn't refuse.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I personally lean towards the idea of him seeing something. And that's his whole entire team, right? And that's one thing. It's another thing, and another intangible that I think Terrence Crawford brings to the table is his team. I've been pushing this for the past 2-3 months, maybe or so. Just that boxing is actually a team sport. People don't speak on it that way. Obviously, the fighters don't speak on it like that all the time. They say the thing that attracted them to this sport was the idea that they didn't have to depend on a team. If they lost in the ring, they lost on their own accord. If they won, they won on their own accord. They didn't have to blame it on somebody else. But I think it's been understated how effective and how powerful an Eddie Reynoso is in this conversation, or a Bo McIntyre is in this conversation, or an Entourage, in fact, is powerful in this conversation. You being someone who you're training amateurs right now, and you work with a lot of pros in the game as well. How do you feel about, because you're actually part of the team, right? You're going to compete as well, right? You're competing with the game plan, with the strategy. You're competing with the other coach. You're competing with them as well with how you prepped your fighter. How do you feel about that? About the idea of the team effort counting in this fight as well, and how does that translate in this fight specifically, obviously? But what do you think about that whole entire entourage team aspect? Is that also going to play its role in what we're looking at in this fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford?
Yeah, definitely. The team definitely plays a big part in how the way you perform, in a fight. especially with the different type of coaches that, Terrence Crawford has. He got 3 coaches from what I understand. He got, I forgot the one dude, the Mexican dude named Saul. I think his name's Saul, one of those things. My apologies for that. But then we got Red Spikes, and then we have Bomac. And according to Terrence Crawford, they all got different styles. They all got different approaches on how the way they approach boxing. So he's pretty much getting every look possible. And, I'm not going to stereotype, the Mexican coach by any means, but if he comes from Mexican boxing, the body punching, which Terrence Crawford is good at, the inside fighting, that grittiness that Terrence Crawford had, they may have been influenced by his Mexican coach, with all of their styles, meshing into one, they could definitely morph, Terrence Crawford into the monster that he is. So they definitely play a part. Another thing, it's not only, what they bring to the style and bring to the table in terms of like styles of coaching. Coaches are also people who are like therapists. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people don't really talk about that. Coaches are more than just coaches. They could breathe life into a fighter. They could bring positivity into a fighter. I remember when Mike Tyson said that Cus D'Amato pretty much hypnotized him, with the mental reps that he gave him, had him believing that he was somebody like a warrior. And it translated into the ring when, he put on those dominating, scary performances. You see what I'm saying? So they definitely help because they could add things to your style to make you a more dangerous fighter, and they can help from a psychological aspect because they could bring if you got a bunch of negative people around you, possibility you're going to be a negative person. But when people are positive and confident in your abilities, that gives you the reassurance you need to be confident in yourself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, coaches and your overall team. Like I think Bernie's one of like his friends as well.
Bernie's like part of his entourage.
Bernie believed that if you put Crawford in there with a silverback, he's gonna come out on top. So
100%.
When you got them type of people that believe in you, you bound to do good things.
Yeah, man. I think all these different variables are intangibles in this fight, man. I think it all culminates to this. I think the years of experience. I think his relationship with his mother. I think him getting shot in the back of his head. I think him not making the Olympic team. I think him being on the wrong side of the street when it came to that top rank situation. I think his independence. I think every bit of adversity, every bit of experience that Terrence Crawford's had in his career has culminated to this moment right now. And I think the same thing for Canelo Alvarez, who became a straight up professional at 15, 16 years old. That is going to culminate to this point as well. Now, we just watched, by the way, the weigh-ins are going on the whole entire time. We're running out miles right now. We're looking at Kalen Walsh, who just stepped up onto the on the scale. He's facing off with Fernando Vargas Jr. It's real intensity. Fernando Vargas is popping off right now. Kalen Walsh popping off. I think, by the way, on this undercard, the Christian Mbili and Lester Martinez, Fernando Vargas, Kalen Walsh, Serhii Bohachuk, Brandon Adams, and a couple of other fighters that are on this undercard. I think this undercard gets a bad it gets a bad jacket. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a bad undercard. I think these are some great fights, man. What do you think about the undercard on this one?
I was definitely talking about that, and I think that boxing fans got spoiled with these previous Turkey Alley sheet cards when you got notable champion after notable champion after notable champion. So these, I'm not gonna say they casuals, but like boxing fans in general feel like, if you're doing a Turkey Alley sheet card, he got all this money. You're supposed to have more notable names, but just because they're notable doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate to a great fight. We had a few notable names on that card back in May in Times Square, and a lot of people weren't really too happy with the results that had taken place. I think stylistically, these fights are going to be very exciting, whether we're talking about Callum Walsh or Fernando Vargas Jr. Fernando Vargas Jr. has been talking crazy. Apparently, Callum Walsh said that he said something about Walsh's that Fernando Vargas Jr. said something about his girlfriend and all types of stuff like that. So that's getting pretty messy, and I'm sure that's gonna carry over into the fight. Then we're talking about Lester Martinez versus Christian Mbili. If you guys ain't never seen either one of those dudes fight, that is gonna be a shootout. That is gonna be a full-on war.
Crazy.
And you know, neither one of these guys have faced anybody like each other. So that's going to be a great competitive fight. And you know, I'm sure there's other fights on the card that stand out as well outside of Canelo and Bud, but because they aren't like these big world championship level, elite level names, people berate it. You know, people, you know, don't really care about it too much. But that card definitely got some good ones on there, especially Bohachuk and Brandon Adams. That's actually a rematch.
Right.
And people don't even know that Brandon Adams had stopped Sergey Bohachuk, you know, not too long ago. And
Right.
Bohachuk looking for some revenge. So we getting a little bit of everything. We getting a little bit of everything in this fight. So I mean, on this card. So it's definitely some fights to look forward to. But I guess like if you're not really tapped in with boxing and don't really know who these fighters are, it's easy to downgrade it.
100%. And I think each one of these fighters, because of the styles that they bring and because of the intensity that they bring, and I think this is a big stage. This is an opportunity for any one of these fighters to have a breakout night, right? This is an opportunity for any one of these fighters to have a performance of their life and get a whole fan base. We're talking about an opportunity to be in front of 60,000+ people inside of an arena. This is an experience you can't buy, and not to mention however many millions of people are going to be watching this on Netflix. Any one of these fighters can break out in this fight, and I think these fighters are the kind of fighters that do it. One thing that I've always said about what Turki Al-Sheikh brings to the table is I believe he really does have good matchmakers over there. They do a good job at putting together real good fights. You'll find that there'll be fights that are fighters you don't even know compete against each other and deliver excellent performances, deliver great fights, and styles make fights, and the matchmaking makes a big difference. I think they bring that to the table to the point to where I don't sleep on a Turki card, right? Even if with a Turki card, I watch every single fight on the card because you never know who's going to break out. You just don't know. Who's this dude from England? Who's this dude from Japan? Where the hell does this guy come from Pakistan? I never even heard this dude, and he puts on a great performance. I mean, who's the guy who fought against David Morrell on that last card and just ran it with him? A lot of people thought David Morrell lost that fight. What was that guy's name, man? He had some performance enhancement drug issues as well. That was kind of bro. I'm trying to remember that guy, but that fight ended up being like one of the best fights on that whole entire card. Let me pull up his name right quick. Let me pull up his name real quick here. David Morrell, his last fight. Oh yeah, Imam Katiev. This ended up being a great fight. So Terrence Crawford walking up on the stage right now. It is going down right now. Okay. All right, Blue. I sent it to your phone, man. Here you go. I sent it to your phone as well. I sent it to your phone and I sent it to your email, but there's a link. Blue saying I need the link. It's crazy in here. It is wild in here, man. Right now, Terrence Crawford just hopped up on the scale. Nice and hydrated. He looks good, man. Let me tell you something. He's not looking ripped. He looks good. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He rehydrated pretty well too, because that abs don't look as defined as they did earlier. So yeah, he definitely rehydrated pretty good too. He probably like a good 178 right now, 175.
Yeah, maybe even a 180. Maybe even a 180. You know what I'm saying? What do you think Canelo Alvarez? What are you expecting Canelo Alvarez to come in at? Are you expecting him to go up there to the 185, 190s, or you think he's gonna try to keep it slim and stay around 180 or under as well?
That's actually a pretty good question. Maybe if he's focusing on combination punching and agility, he might not come in too heavy for this one. But from what I've heard, Canelo has blown up to the 80s back when he was at 54. So I wouldn't expect nothing less, at 168.
No doubt. Blue, by the way, you're muted. The sound isn't on, so I don't know if you want to turn the sound on, but it's looking crazy in there. There, Canelo Alvarez is hopping up on the scale. You can still see his abs. You can still see, I don't know, man. He doesn't look like he rehydrated all that big. Let me see. Oh, yeah, man. I don't know. He got some size on him, bro. What do you think? I don't know, man. Both these guys look like they're in great shape. There's Blue right there with the camera. He's at the arena right now.
Damn,
looking crazy.
That's crazy.
How do you feel about this face-off right now? How do you feel when you're looking at these guys right now from the outside looking in? What are you looking for? You know what I mean? Like, what are you paying attention to?
Look like Bud locked the fuck in. That's what it looked like. He looked like he ready to fight. I ain't see a single smile on that guy's face that entire way in, and looked like Canelo just keeping it professional as always. So, man, we got to fight. We got to fight.
Yeah, he's edgy. He's edgy. He just threw it off at the crowd. You know, the crowd is screaming for Canelo. Obviously, I don't have the sound on here, but we got to keep it 100. Canelo's probably getting the lion's share of the support in the arena right now. It looks like a little bit Terrence Crawford kind of frustrated a little bit. Oh, how you doing? Can you hear us?
By 4. Trying to reverse the camera. How does it feel?
We're watching it. Canelo talking right now. Walks off the stage. Doesn't drop a statement. Doesn't say anything. How do you feel about that, Mazuma? He says nothing. You know. My bad. How do you feel? Well, hold on. Blue's talking. Go ahead.
What's up? Crazy, bro.
Wait. Go ahead. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Take off the mute. Take off the mute. Blue. Take off the mute. Well, he's not saying nothing. Okay. He's up in there. Listen, oh no, Terrence came back. He's talking. He's speaking. He came back real quick and he spoke and he's smiling. How'd you feel about that? He walked off he walked off the stage kind of frustrated and did one of these to the crowd and walked off the stage. I felt like I seen some frustration coming from him where he didn't even care to deal with the crowd anymore. He's all about the fight happening, but he comes back, right? He turns around and he comes back so he can say something on the mic. Does that mean anything to you?
It just sounds like he's ready to fight. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he dialed in. He understands that this is his moment. And he ain't got nothing else to say. It ain't like he got to sell the fight. Look at all the people that's there.
100%.
It sounds like he wants to silence the doubters. That's what it sounded like to me.
It sounded like, yeah, I mean, he's ready. Yeah, that's what I think it is. What it comes down to is he's in fight mode. He's probably a little irritable. He's in that place to where he's ready to let his hands fly. I know that feeling when you don't want to hear none of the BS. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not with me, you shouldn't even be standing anywhere close to me, to be honest with you. You shouldn't even be anywhere in my vicinity. It can go left very easily. I'm like this. I got a hair trigger right now. I'm dialed in and I'm ready to fight. Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, looks like he was right at home, right? That's where he belongs. The big stage, nothing new to him. I'm not frustrated. It's an everyday thing for me. Listen, man, the way I feel about it, Mazuma, there's no excuses for none of these fighters. Nobody's caught off guard. Everybody's doing their thing. Everybody's in the best place. Everybody seems to have great camps. At the end of the day, the reality is we're not going to know nothing until tomorrow. Tomorrow's when we're going to find out who was prepared. You know, every now and then you see something where you're like, I don't know, man. Canelo looks a little dehydrated, or he looks a little unfocused. He looks a little distracted. Terrence looked like he didn't do a good weight cut. Looks like he might have put on too much weight. I don't know. I'm hearing about this. I'm hearing about that. But the reality is, let's be honest, Mazuma, I ain't seen none of that. I think these guys are ready to go, period. And, I mean, that's great for us as boxing fans, right? As boxing fans, that's great for us.
Yeah, that just added more excitement to the table, man. 100%. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fast forward till tomorrow. I don't even want to go live tonight. I just want to go ahead and watch this fight and do that live fight reaction over here. That's what I'm ready to do. I'm ready to fast forward till tomorrow night.
Yeah, Terrence looks dialed in, bro. He looks like I'm ready to punch somebody in the face. Bomac, this dude is dialed in, bro. This dude is dialed in all the way. He is all the way dialed in, man. I'm excited, man. And I'm excited for the undercard. I think it's going to be a great undercard. I think it's going to be a great prelim card. As far as Serhii Bohachuk, as far as that whole card is concerned, I could pull it up, but there's a lot of fighters on there. I'm interested in the new fighters as well. I want to know about these guys. I want to know what, you know, in my mind, I get all into this boxing shit, right? Like, for me, what I go and I say in my mind, Mark, is what the hell did this dude do to get on this undercard? Does that make sense? Like, when I see an undercard and I see of a fight of this magnitude and I see you're on the undercard, I say to myself, what in the world did this dude do?
Hey, Clay, man, it's crazy in here, Clay. It's insane in here for a fight that people said that nobody wanted to see. I want y'all to see all these people here. It looks like we had the actual fight, people. This is not the fight. This is the weigh-in. Tell him. This is the weigh-in. This ain't even the fight. Look at all the people.
Yeah, man.
Insanity. Hey, yes, sir. Hey, listen. Hey, Clay. I'm on the 3rd floor, Clay. This is the 3rd floor.
The second and the first floor.
So look at the escalator, Clay. Look. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Bro, look.
Yeah, bro. Everybody's tapped in, man. Everybody's tapped in. Yeah, you're not lying, Blue. Everybody thought that this fight was not going to be impactful. They wanted to say that nobody asked for this fight. They wanted to say that this fight wasn't going to be competitive. At this point, a lot of the pundits in the space changed their mind. You look at the odds in Vegas, very close. You know what I mean? The world has become very thirsty and very hungry to find out who the best fighter is. They really believe whoever wins this fight is the guy ushering this new era of boxing, man. They really put a lot of weight on this. Look at him.
Hey, Clay.
Yeah, speak to me.
This is crazy, bro. This crazy. Like I've been to many weigh-ins. Man, this is crazy. Look, yo, you can hear the crowd?
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah. Look at everybody, man.
I don't know how to reverse my camera. Why I can't reverse my camera, man? It's not letting me reverse my camera.
It's probably because you're on the app, man. You know how it is.
I'm gonna go down the escalator so y'all can see on the escalator. Look. No problem. Clay.
Oh yeah.
Clay, look outside, Clay. Look outside.
God, look outside the window, guy. That's crazy. Look outside the window.
Look, it looked like the fight.
Oh my God! You ain't lying, bro. It's still daytime over there. Obviously, we got a time difference, but you can only imagine what it's gonna look like tomorrow. Tomorrow evening. You can only imagine, man. Look at this, bro. Look at people leaving out here, bro. I feel bad for anybody who drove. You might as well just chill for a bit, right, Mark? Don't even go to your car, bro. It's a waste of time. You might as well chill and wait for a good 50% of this to deplete because you'll be stuck in traffic just to get up the street, probably to get 1.5 miles, 2 miles up the road to your hotel. It'll take you about 1.5 hours, 2 hours.
Yeah, I was about to say, hopefully your hotel nearby.
Right. Don't even drive. There he goes. Boxing, no life right there. Uh-oh. People recognize this. Salute. Yeah, man. Hands on. On the ground, man.
Yo,
Shout
Clay,
out to
you hear this, Clay? Yeah. Yo, Clay, you can hear this?
Yeah. That's crazy. I was supposed to be out there, man, caught up in my nonsense, man. That's why we made the changes we made. I made some changes, and we will not miss any more of these, bro. I promise you. I made some changes in the whole situation I'm dealing with right now. Freed my hands up. This should not have been missed, but listen, shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV out there. Who's keeping up. Yeah, well, I definitely hear you. By the way, I got my guy Missouri TV up here, man. I got to introduce
I can't hear you, but look.
I know. Nah, I can't miss these moments, man. This is what makes the sport what it is. This is what the sport was missing, low key. You know what I mean? The magnitude like this only comes about with right matchmaking. This is Mark, I don't know how you feel about it, but this is the best fighting the best, right? This is what it looks like when everybody wants to dial in and see this. And obviously we know, Canelo brings the crowd too. But I'd argue, did Canelo bring a crowd like this for the Berlanga fight? I don't think so. I don't think the crowd showed up like that for Berlanga. So we got to give some credibility to Terrence Crawford and the competitive nature of this fight being because of a caliber of Terrence Crawford is fighting Canelo Alvarez. People are really split down the middle on how this fight goes outside of your loyalties because you're Mexican or Latino or whatever have you. Nobody is walking away with, one fighter is going to dominate the other fighter. This is going to be a competitive fight, man. Yeah, Blue's frozen. He said put Blue on the. How do I do that? Let me think. I wonder if I do something like this. No, if I do something like this, or if I do something like this, or if I do something like this, or maybe if I do something like this. No, this. How do I make blue screen big? I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, bro. I ain't gonna push it. It is what it is, man. Everybody's saying put them on the full screen. They want to get the energy. Everybody wants to get the energy of what's going on out there, man. Mark, man, we sitting at home out here in Pennsylvania, bro. It's, you know what I mean? Like watching this kind of gives you a little bit of damn I was wish out there, right? Like, damn, just a little bit of it, right?
Hell yeah. We definitely missing out on that moment. But I'm just glad that I'm able to watch the fight.
Me too.
You know what I mean? And then especially it being on Netflix, it's going to be easy access to watch. So,
yeah. That being said, though, Mark, just segue into that because you're talking about Netflix. So yesterday, you know, Dana White, Turkey Al-Sheikh, you know, they all caught a little pushback, right? They caught a little, you know, Sean Zartel made a moment for himself, right? He made a little moment for himself and confronted Dana White on what's going on with the Muhammad Ali Act and things of that nature. Max Kellerman tried to, you know, salvage the moment and be like, hey, man, guys, don't forget who's putting this on, right? Don't forget, you know what I mean, that this is potentially ushering a new era of boxing and a golden era, according to Max Kellerman. How'd you feel about that whole entire situation just in general, man?
Me personally, I thought that Sean Zartel asked some valid questions, but I did think that it was asked at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. I think when Dana White said that we could sit down and do a one-on-one interview, I don't know if that was necessarily true, but that should have been a situation where he was able to sit down with Dana and ask the questions personally to him. I did feel like those questions were truly legitimate. I think that those were real questions that needed to be answered by Dana because we're not really too approving of what he's attempting to do with reforming the Muhammad Ali Act and things like that. And shout out to Rachel Donaire for, you know, putting her foot down over there and letting it be known what it is, even if things got a little bit heated. You know what I'm saying? I thought that he asked I thought he asked some real good questions, and I thought the last question that he had asked was valid as well. Like, if you're not able to reform the Muhammad Ali Act, like to how the way you want it, are you still going to be, you know, invested in boxing? Are you going to compete in the market? But Dana White refused to give any type of answers to those questions. But, you know, I feel like these uncomfortable questions need to be asked more often because I feel like nowadays a lot of media outlets, you know, they refrain from asking these tough questions because they want to maintain their credentials and, just be around for the hell of it, you know, not holding fighters accountable whatsoever, not holding promoters and networks accountable whatsoever. They just let these guys do whatever they want and they just happy to be there. So I'm happy that Sean Zartel, you know, asked these uncomfortable questions because it was definitely an elephant in the room. And I'm just glad that, you know, he took the time to address it because if he didn't, nobody else would have done it.
Yeah, it does seem like that. And you know, yesterday as it was happening, I was a little bit more fresh. I was a little bit more fresh about it, and I felt like, damn, man, bad timing, bro. You really tried to, like, you know, take this moment away from Terrence and Canelo. You know what I'm saying? I wanted them to get the attention. I felt like it was their night. I feel like this fight has a lot of potential possibilities on the end of it being a success, right? I feel like if we can really show out as American boxing fans how much we love the sport and show up the way we're watching that we are showing up at T-Mobile Arena right now and how I'm anticipating we'll show up at Allegiant, I thought that was a bigger moment, in my opinion, and I wanted it to be but more about that. I think I was a little disappointed in Sean Zartel as far as even after you asked those questions, you didn't even ask Terrence Crawford or Canelo Alvarez on questions, right? Like, okay, you had your moment with Dana, but still, okay, guys, you know what I mean? You're one of our best in the content creation space. Sean Zartel is somebody I give respect to. I think he does a good job at calling these fights, and you know he has a good scholarship in the sport. But I do think the questions were legitimate. But I agree with you also that I thought it was bad timing. And I thought Dana White gave him gave him some respect to say, listen, I'll do an interview with you. And it seemed like Dana's kind of eager to deal with that. And I do believe that that's something he's going to have to address. And it looks like Dana's kind of embraced that, right? Like before I can really get my feet in this game, I'm going to have to speak on this because I know a lot of people are feeling some kind of way about my position. Me and Nick Khan and Turkey Al-Sheikh's position on this Ali Act. Let me ask you a question because fighters have different perspectives. I've heard some fighters speak on the Ali Act like, yo, that's a great thing. It protects us, this and that and the other. But I've also heard a lot of fighters speak on how promoters have found out how to get around the Ali Act, and they, fighters have been getting screwed over left and right constantly. I mean, man,
you already know.
Hold on, let me see. Unmute. Well, I think he was talking to somebody anyway. People talk about how promoters have been getting around this and screwing over. I mean, you see what happened with Edwin De Los Santos and Samson Leakowicz just recently when it came to that Keyshawn fight, how he pretty much had to separate himself from Samson Leakowicz. We see how Al Heyman carries it with Tom Brown, how he has that weird kind of relationship with him where he's kind of getting around the promoter rules because he's not the promoter, he's the platform. Tom Brown is a promoter, things of that nature. How do you feel about the Muhammad Ali Act? I mean, is it effective? Is it really protecting these fighters, or is it just something that looks good on paper?
Well, based off of first of all, I'm gonna say this. I feel like fighters, especially when they're at a certain level, they should be at the negotiation table. You feel what I mean? And I feel like, from what I understand, that Muhammad Ali allows fighters to have, transparency in terms of like what the event's making and things of that nature. So I do feel like the Muhammad Ali does a great job with providing transparency and just giving them a seat at the table so they're able to understand what's going on with the business in itself. Of course, there's always going to be things that these crooked promoters and managers and networks are going to do to try to finesse these fighters and, lowball them or whatever the case is. I don't really know exactly I don't know too much about what the reform is exactly. So do you know what the reform?
I mean, I could definitely pull it up, you know what I mean? And if you want, I'll go grab it and pull it up. As a matter of fact, I think I have it right here, to be honest with you. I think I have it right here. Funny enough, because I was looking it over and reading it, but I've never really taken my time to really look at it. I'm gonna pull it up. Though.
I did see how they were gonna create a whole different league in boxing, and how basically the Muhammad Ali
Reform Act. I'll make it bigger too. Hold on. Let me shout out to Adult Choice with the $5 in the building. I appreciate the support, man. Thank you for the color, man, guys. Thank you for any support you can give to the channel. Guys, I'm moving in a different direction. I'm going to be committing more time to the channel. I've made changes in my profession a little bit, so I'm betting on myself a little bit. So yeah, support, man. You know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be a lot more stuff coming, man. So all the color is embraced here. Adult Choice says they're booing, but someone tell Crawford FBA us got his back. You know what I'm saying? Crawford knows, man. Crawford knows. But one thing about Crawford that I've always respected is that he's found a way to operate inside that energy, inside that madness, right? He's found a way to operate and make that fuel him. You know what I'm saying? Make that fuel his whole energy. So it really just makes him want to beat on Canelo even more. You know what I mean? So here is the Ali Act right here. It says the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act, commonly referred to as the Ali Act, is a federal law that was introduced in 1999, enacted in 2000 by Congress, and it has three things here that it says it does mainly, right? It says it protects the rights and welfare of boxers, it aids state boxing commissions with the oversight of boxing, and it increases sportsmanship and integrity within the boxing industry. I think those things are nice things to hear, right? But the question is, we could read through this whole entire thing. The question is it effective or is it not effective? Is it really doing what it's supposed to be doing, or is it not? If it's really just getting in the way of fighters getting a lot of opportunities, in this case, something where they're trying to start a new league up, in my opinion, a boxing farm. That's what I think it really is. I think they're going to be trying to develop talent that I think is going to translate into the cream of the crop coming out of that league. Are going to probably end up with the Ring Magazine League inside that Ring League, and they're probably going to ultimately be competing for these WBA, WBO, WBC, IBF championship belts. I think that's where what's going to ultimately end up being happening, as far as like a B league of sorts, right? Getting fighters together. But I wonder if there's any contingencies that they're putting in to replace the Muhammad Ali Act, or is it just we want to eliminate it and give ourselves all the freedom? Or are they trying to improve, add amendments? Are they trying to do something that makes more sense, that's going to actually help the fighters out in a different way, but also allow them to go ahead and put this new business model out on the space? What do you think about that?
The question that I got is I'm pretty informed on the current version of the Ali Act. What I want to know is exactly what they're attempting to revise. That's what I want to know, because I don't think they're trying to throw away the Muhammad Ali Act. I think they're trying to change some things within the Muhammad Ali Act that could benefit that league that they're attempting to come together with. For what I heard, I think they were trying to create a whole different league where it's like I guess you could say its own entity, and with that they'll have like their own belt. You know what I mean? Boxers will be given a minimum of this much around, and it was a lot of stuff like that. I'm still kind of like not too well versed on that whole situation. I'm sure Rachel will have a better understanding of what they're attempting to do, but you know what I mean? A lot of people aren't too fond of it. And these are like credible reporters like Sean Sattel. They're coming out and they're speaking out about it. They feel like that, boxers shouldn't really go in that direction. And, I feel like I should have just did more research on it. But, a lot of people ain't really liking what Dana White's coming from with this whole situation. He's having a lot of issues within the UFC himself. I think they just had to pay out like $375 million. For like this lawsuit that was going on, and they said Sean Sattel made it clear that he has 2 pending lawsuits for a similar situation. And Dana White has been heavily criticized within these last few years of underpaying fighters. You know what I mean? Marginalizing how much these fighters should be getting paid. Because I remember at one point in time they could actually put advertisements and sponsorships on their trunks. They're not able to do that anymore with that Reebok deal that they came across.
Facts.
So that's limiting fighters' pay. Because there was fighters who was like, "Oh, I'm not getting that pay. I'm not getting paid that well, in the octagon." However, with these endorsements, this is pretty much like picking up the slack. But now you're completely taking endorsements away from them, so that pissed off a lot of fighters. And historically, when fighters like Francis Ngannou try to get paid what they felt like they were worth, Dana White pretty much told them to kick rocks. So, yeah, man, like Dana White. He's been heavily criticized for not paying these guys what they're worth, and that's why a lot of these dudes, once they get out of the UFC, they over here putting boxing gloves on because they trying to make up for lost times.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, the checks and balances is very important in situations like this, especially with people putting their lives on the line. Right, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that they're getting their just due. That's super important. And like you said earlier, I don't know if they're trying to revise or if they're just trying to take it off the table completely. I know, listen, man, it's all fair as far as criticism is concerned. It's up to Dana White to find a platform, a big platform, whether it's, I know he don't rock with Ariel Helwani that way, but whether it's, Stephen A. Smith, which that probably is what direction he's going to go in, if you ask me. I think he gave Sean Zartel a real opportunity, or, at least fronted like he was. I would appreciate if Sean would have took that and been more like, okay, I'm going to hold you to that. That's what's up. We're going to talk. We're going to set that up immediately then. But some way or another, he's going to have to address that, because you're not going to be able to attack something like that's been put there. And you see how Rachel Donaire reacted to it, right? Like people in the space, they're not allowing you to do that without any pushback. You're going to have to state your claim. You're going to have to make it make sense. You're going to have to give something back. You're not just going to be able to take it off the table and just take boxing back 50, not 50 years, but take it back 20 plus years into another space where boxers were getting robbed or getting, not getting their just due. You're going to have to make it make sense. And we're going to have to see what Dana does with that, man. Let me see here. One thing for sure, boxing as is can't go on effectively. Some kind of structure has to be put into place. And I think that's the big thing. Shout out to throwing straight facts, boxing. I think that's the big thing as well that's being swept under the rug a little bit. And my whole thing is they destroying your city, man. What's going on out there? You safe? You good? You home?
Philly for you.
Yeah, Philly, baby, Philly. One thing's for sure, and two things for certain is boxing as is has been an uphill battle regardless. I mean, you're in the space. You're training amateurs, but you've dealt with a lot of professionals. I mean, how do you feel about the current state of boxing outside of Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White's entry? How do you feel about it?
Well, boxing is definitely a corrupt sport in damn near every aspect, whether we talking about the judges, whether we talking about the PED use that's starting to become more and more frequent, the sanctioning bodies. There definitely needs to be some type of structure. It just, and I feel like regardless of what changes are made in boxing, fans are going to have their criticisms regardless. I just think that whatever changes happen in the sport of boxing, it should be beneficial from the bottom, like the lower level guys, the local fights, all the way up to the the world champions, the all-time greats. You know what I mean? The biggest fighters of their generation. So what does that exactly entail, and what needs to be done in order to appease all these fighters? And I don't know. I really don't know. But boxing at this point in time, it definitely needs to be some changes. I think, with artificial intelligence going on, I would like to see somehow, some way that we just get rid of human judges overall. Wow. I think there needs to be more transparency with scoring. I think we should be able to. I think as fans, we should be able to see the scoring in real time. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we should be able to see the scoring.
Turkey did that in the WBC Grand Prix. In the Grand Prix, that's what was happening at the end of each round. Before the beginning of the next round, they let you know what the score was from the round before. These fighters knew what it was going into these next rounds, and they knew how much more work they had to do, or if they were protecting the lead or things of that nature. And obviously, as the fans, we knew about it as well. And you also saw Turkey Al-Sheikh, I believe it was in the Riyadh season event, maybe the one, if I'm correct, between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. There was an AI judge, if you remember, right?
Yeah, that AI judge was kind of crazy.
He didn't do it well. Yeah,
they needed to do some modifying and some that AI judge needs some polishing up, because I don't know what that judge was saying.
Well, I think that's the whole thing, though, right? Like it's they gotta work out the kinks, right? But what I'm saying,
I think they're going in the right direction, though.
Right, they're going in that direction.
I feel like there needs to be more transparency with boxing. Simple and plain. These fighters should be knowing, how much money they're, generating in these fights. These judges need to be more transparent on how they're scoring. And I think that judges need to be held accountable for, making these, terrible decisions.
I agree with you.
Sanctioning bodies, we need to know where this money's going. There needs to be transparency in
that aspect, right?
What are you doing for these retired world champions when, you know what I mean, they pretty much are broken down on their luck? What are you going to do? Because they generated millions of dollars for you before. What are you going to do in return? There's a lot of things that definitely needs to be polished up in boxing, and it does need some structure. But with boxing being considered like the wild, wild west, it's going to be very hard to really convince everybody to be on the same page.
You're on that same page. Hey, Salute, I see you in the background, Red. Put on your camera right quick so I can see who you are, just to make sure that you ain't some weirdo, because there's a lot of weirdos out here in the space. So if you don't mind turning the camera on real quick, you can go back to your thumbnail once I see that you're a human and that you're not on some nonsense, and I'll pull you up real quick to get your take on what we're looking at tonight. That being said, though, yeah, man, it's a conversation that I think we need to take our time. We need to speak about it. I don't think the solution is leave it alone. I just don't believe there's anything going to be solved and leave it alone. I also don't believe the solution is move full speed ahead on any one particular move until it's really been dissected, vetted through, audited, and give it its best chance of it working, right? I'm expecting growing pains, right? We're going to expect whatever. If they did put a new system in, I'm sure as it goes, we're going to see something where it's like, they need to fix this. This part of it is, you know what I'm saying, is not working well. Just like you were able to see the issues with the AI judging they tried to play with in the Alexander Usyk Tyson Fury fight. But I think it's moving in the right direction, and I think it's going to take a lot of money. Obviously, a lot of resources going to have to be committed to making that move. And I think we got that with Turkey Al-Sheikh. I think we got that with Nick Khan, and I think that's a good thing, right? Everything isn't perfect, but I think Max Kellerman was trying to highlight that, to say that for the first time he's been calling boxing, commentating on boxing, analyzing boxing for a long time. He says for the first time in a long time he sees a light at the end of the tunnel, right? He sees NFL, NBA, professional baseball type of possibilities for the sport, and he feels like the sport was missing that. Did you resonate with anything Max was saying when Max was kind of speaking on that?
Yeah, I definitely understood where he was coming from because one of the biggest criticisms that I had about the sport of boxing is that there is no structure.
Mhm,
I always felt like there definitely needed to be somebody like how the way Dana White runs the UFC,
mhm.
like somebody. We need somebody similar, you know, like that for the sport of boxing. I feel like a lot of things would be, not as bad if we had like a leader to be fair, be transparent, like I said, and eliminate as much corruption from the sport as possible. Wherever there's money, there's going to be corruption, unfortunately. So we can't have everything. That's just how the way business goes, especially at a high level. But yeah, man, I definitely understood where Max was coming from. It's just that are they the people that's going to give us the transparency that we need, or are they going to be just like everybody else when they get to a certain level of power? uh, they don't know how to act. You feel what I mean? Because that's how a lot of people don't know how to handle power, especially if they've never had it before. And historically, there's been a lot of criticisms with Dana White and how the way he's running the UFC. So imagine how the way he would run boxing.
Well, I agree with you 100%, right? And there's a saying, right? Like absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? That is definitely. But I also think we might be over. Like, is Dana White going to take over boxing? Is he going to become the head of boxing? Right? No, right? Like this is a league he's trying to put together. It's separate from the WBA, the WBO, all these different leagues. So I mean, I'm just saying that these fighters more than likely you'll have a wave of fighters going in. If it doesn't work out, I doubt they're going to re-sign with them. They're going to go back to the way things work. This thing, it looks like it's going to be on its own separate platform, and it's going to be an experiment that we all get to watch to see how it develops and if it makes sense or not. If it doesn't make sense, I would assume that boxers and promoters alike are going to do their job and not put their fighters in that situation if it earns that type of reputation. I just think in the space that we're in 2025 with social media and all these different platforms and vehicles that these fighters can use to communicate good experiences from bad experiences. I mean, we wouldn't even know about what was going on in the UFC if it wasn't for all the technology, right? One thing's for sure, Dana White has been brought to justice. This lawsuit has gone through. People have gotten their money, and they're moving forward in a different way because the accountability is there. So I got to assume that the accountability will be there as well, you know what I mean, for this situation. It'll grow into what it needs to be. You know what I mean? Yo, Red, I hear you talking about your camera don't work, man, but I don't know what to tell you, bro. I've been screwed over. I'm not really letting nobody up here without seeing your face. I know who this is, Adel Choice. What's good, Adel? Assalamu alaikum, King. How you feeling?
Walaikum assalam, Mike. Walaikum assalam. Peace and blessing to you, Mazoon TV. How you doing, sir?
Salute, brother.
What's good with
Yeah,
you?
man. Man, you already know what it is. Crawford business. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. We're rooting for Crawford definitely in this situation. What do you think about what do you think about at this point? You saw the weigh-ins this morning. So how do you think about how Crawford looked there, and how do you think about how Crawford looked on the stage tonight?
Okay, I'll start with the first one. On the stage, man. I mean, he had that attitude and that chip on his shoulder, and we kind of already knew it. That coming up to this point because the interview, especially the interview with Porter. Shout out to Sean Porter.
Great interview by Sean Porter. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He kind of let us know that, man, in that interview, Crawford he kind of like was irritated. He had the bucket hat on, you know what I'm saying, from back in the early 80s. You know how we can really appreciate that bucket hat, you know what I'm saying? That means, look here, man, you know what I'm saying? It's going down. You know what I mean? He was tapped in, man. He was about no games. And he said everything that he needed to say about, Canelo, you know what I'm saying? And how everybody was,
Okay, my bad. Hold on. Go ahead, Ray. Come on back, man. I'll let you up because I know who you are. I gave you a wrench. You said red. It said red under your name. It didn't say throwing straight facts boxing. So yeah, come on back up, bro. I got you. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem. So anyways, tonight we saw Crawford with that same chip on his shoulder. I was listening to it. I was going back and forth from your channel to Netflix, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect, but I wanted to get, you know what I'm saying, the firsthand experience on what was Crawford irritation all about. And when he came up there, it was none but boobs. Right. So he was already like, man, I'm about to get up out of here before they start throwing tomatoes and and
Right.
bottles. You know how
I didn't
unruly
hear the
crowds.
sound. I'm glad you're able to tell us. Yeah, because we didn't have the sound going because
Man, it sounded like he was in Mexico, bro. It was
wow.
ridiculously like deafening boo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you can see in the crowd, you ain't see no FBAs out there. So he like, man, let me get the hell up out of here. You know, I don't know where the hell I'm at, right?
Right,
And so soon as the face off came, he was just waiting for the face off. Like, let me hurry up and get this face off over, and I'm out. So they did this face off real quick. You know, you can tell his energy was flat, and he was bothered by that crowd. He was pissed off. And I know as a professional, he didn't want to cross the line and take that out on Canelo just yet. He gonna take that shit out on Canelo when they get in the ring for a fact. You know what I'm saying? But he was so irritated that he jet out of there. And that's why he did the whole waving at the crowd. He wasn't even thinking about Canelo. He was so mad at the crowd. He was like, man, F this crowd. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? And so when they finally got back and called him back up on there, you know what I'm saying, for him to say what he had to say, you know, you couldn't even really hear what he was saying, you know what I'm saying, because the crowd was just so anti Crawford, man. So it's anti-Crawford business out there real thick. I think Blue gonna definitely let you know that. He better not wave nothing about Crawford in there, because I ain't gonna be surprised if it's gonna be a whole bunch of fights up in that place.
Wow, man. Salute, right here. Salute, throwing straight facts boxing. How you doing this evening?
What's going on, man? How y'all doing, fellas?
Yeah,
What's going on, Robert?
Doing good, man. What's on your mind?
No, I was just I agree with what Missoula TV was talking about with the Dana White need to be more transparent on exactly what they're trying to do with the trying to take away the Ali Act. But truth be told, the fighters need to do a better job on educating themselves on how to use the Ali Act to their advantages, because it's there to protect them from, getting finessed and, so they can get the books opened up if stuff don't seem right, and it seems like a lot of them guys don't do their due diligence on trying to see what's going on and to make sure everything right. So I think it's more so like an educational knowledge thing on the fighter's behalf, and having the right people around them to understand the business that they in. Because I know a lot of the guys just want to fight, but when your money involved in livelihood and stuff like that, and a difference of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions, you want to know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, as far as when I was talking about the structure part, I was saying the Ali Act, that's one thing, but we do need some kind of structure, because boxing have been taking a hit for years. And, I love the sport. And I feel like a lot of the other major sports, like Max Kellerman was saying the other night, a lot of these guys, you know who to look at when stuff ain't right in basketball, NBA, or football, the NFL, and stuff like that. But with boxing, it's just like Blue always says, the Wild Wild West. Everybody do whatever. You got to have some kind of structure to have somebody to go to not just think about right now and lining their pockets up for right now. Like, we got to have something to have the sport grow for the future as well. And the way to create stars, instead of just having 3, 4, or 5 stars and then everybody else, nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows all the champions. That's a huge problem in our sport.
Yeah.
I definitely like to add on that one.
Sure. Go ahead, Adam.
I'm not sure if y'all are involved with any other combat sports like wrestling or any type of martial arts, but I mean, all of those combat sports, man, they're so organized. Those belts are nothing to play with. Those trophies are nothing to play with. Your rankings, the semis. I mean, you even know Pee-wee level is so organized. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the judging is transparent on every round. I mean, every rule is so fine-toothed that there's no room for robberies, unless you can just obviously tell a referee is biased, and that referee gets suspended and he'll never get a game again. You know what I'm saying? You won't have like notorious referees for careers that just rob because they rob. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird that boxing, and it's not weird, it's actually very convenient, because boxing is so unorganized in a low level, in semi-pro level, that once you get up to the professional level, it's the same thing, like the brother said, the Wild Wild West, because you treat the youngsters like the Wild Wild West. You treat everybody coming up like they're nothing until you can use them.
So
And so I
basically,
think, yeah, go ahead,
so
Gilbert.
basically, it's kind of like they brought up and they brought up and taught that way of the sport. So when they get in there, it's normal to them.
It's normal to them to be unorganized. It's normal to them to be individually
Advantage of
thinking
right.
and independent from the sport because you're so isolated, and it's an isolated sport because it's not a group sport. It's not a group activity where the rankings is in high school. The rankings is in junior high. I mean, I played, you know what I'm saying, even football. They got pee-wee rankings. You know what I'm saying? To watch people grow and be groomed all the way up to professional leagues. And I think if we, as podcasters and supporters and parents and coaches, if we start at a low level of organizing it better, then we can definitely get more respect when we get to the suits.
You know
Yeah.
what I always thought of? I always thought like all the other sports have like player associations and stuff like that. I think we need a fighters association where all the fighters come together and vote on things and and work together. If
Yeah,
everybody like everybody's so rogue, if everybody came together and
yeah,
and was all at the table. Like you remember when Crawford and Ryan Garcia and them all was trying to do that a few years ago,
yep.
and then they shut it down real quick and pitted them against each other real quick.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
They
you do it.
divide and conquer, and that's just the
Yeah,
way of the world anyway.
Yeah, they
and I,
they definitely need to replace or like my guy Mazuma was saying, revise some aspects of the Ali Act that kind of facilitate this in a better way and giving that representation. Like you said, some sort of union type of activity. Maybe
Right.
not exactly a union, but something that where their best interests are being constantly being audited, right? Like, hold on, let's revisit it, make sure everybody's doing what they need to do. And if these fighters do feel like something is going left or not moving in the right direction, that they have some sort of avenue that they can go down to where they're also protected as well. Because a lot of these promoters, these fighters start asking too many questions, they start pushing too many buttons, they start ruffling too many feathers, right? They start becoming too the wheel starts to become a little too squeaky. What ends up happening, these promoters like, all right, man, I ain't renewing your contract.
Terrence
right?
Crawford.
I ain't
They're,
working.
they're being difficult. They're
you out.
being difficult. Like how they tried to do Terrence Crawford just for trying to make sure everything is fair.
Yeah.
yeah,
Those kind of guys, they taint your career. Like I said, they did Terrence Crawford like that. They tried to make it seem like, oh, he's difficult, hard to work with. And
Right.
just because you're trying to negotiate a deal that's you're not getting bent over.
right.
It's crazy to me. And I sit here, I listen to everybody. I watch everybody. Because I feel like, we all got different points of views. I don't say somebody wrong because they have a different point of view than I do. I like to listen to everybody and really think about what everybody says. And somewhere in the middle of what all we says, there's some truth in there somewhere,
Right.
Mhm.
I try not to. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. But I was thinking like a commissioner table. It may not be one commissioner, but you need a commissioner that's watching out
committee.
for their health. No, actually, a committee, but someone who's in charge of their health. The mental status, where their brain and body is at. Someone who's in charge of contracting, making sure people are getting transparency between their coaches and their managers, because a lot of managers are having backdoor conversations and not telling the fighter, and the fighters, like, we get these stories all the time that the fighter thought it was 250,000, but it was 350,000. Like, that should never happen. What's going on?
We literally just watched that happen with Edwin De Los Santos. Like, legitimately
Twice.
just watched that happen twice, exactly, with Keyshawn. Straight up, like Samson was running something, and it was good enough for Edwin to walk away from the situation, period. Right? He walked away from the whole entire relationship because of how not transparent Samson was being. He had to figure out, De Los Santos had to figure out through top rank officials, right, who were like, nah, bro, I don't know what that guy's telling you, bro. We definitely offered you a good amount of money. I don't know why he's telling you that. Why you telling the world we only offered you 100,000? You making somebody down out here, bro.
He should have left the first time. He should have left the first time, because guess what?
Yeah.
This is the first time he got caught.
Yeah, you
I mean, but when you say that,
the money said Adel out here,
right?
Grand, you're like, what? Hold up, wait, yo, call that man up, bro. Hey,
Listen, man. That's crazy. And it got to be like a courtroom. We got to have somebody typing every word that your manager has said to another, you know what I'm saying, another manager, another promoter. It got to be some type of what's that called when you're in the court and they're typing everything saying?
Like not a moderator, but I know you're talking about the guy who does.
I know what they call. They do the typing. They do the typing.
Right.
What they call.
But it gotta be on record, because these fighters got to come back and be able to see, okay, who was saying what behind my back? You know what I'm saying? What are these secret conversations that I'm not involved with? I'm trusting him to be my advocate, but he was saying this and that. So there's so many layers that the boxer has to focus on, that they can't chase these people while they chasing greatness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they shouldn't have to do that. So everything should be transparent for this boxer to, okay, I'm not fighting nobody right now. I just got done with a fight. Let me see what was said about this fight by my team. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody may need to be fired.
You know why they get
Hold on a second, right? We just watched, and I actually want to bring Mark into this conversation too, because I want to segue in this, and I think this is a perfect little segue here, talking about the whole Shakur Stevenson, Steven Espinoza conversation on Sway. That happened.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And that was so interesting, because here you see a fighter like Shakur who's sitting here trying to figure out how to navigate this and make a fight happen with Gervonta Tank Davis, right? He's trying to figure out how to navigate this. Is it where I'm at? Do I need to concede? I'll fight over there. I don't care. Just, let me know what needs to be done so the fight can happen. And then you got Steven Espinoza, a lawyer, of course, right? And he's sitting out here twisting words, and he's pushing narratives, and he's saying he did this. Shakur's confronting him, and you never know, right? And like Shakur said on there, he kept it very plain and simple. You don't know, because there'd be so much conversations happening that you're not a part of. And, Bob Arum, you don't know how much Bob Arum is getting in the way. How much is Al Heyman getting in the way? How much is Steven Espinoza getting in the way? How much is Tom Brown getting in the way? How much are all these different pieces getting in the way of something simple, where really, if two fighters, like Shakur said, if two fighters really want to fight, there shouldn't be that much firewall to go through to make a fight happen between two willing fighters. Am I bugging?
Right. No, you're not. You know what stood out to me in that conversation that they had is the fact that they're talking about Top Rank owner, can't think his name.
Bob Arum.
Bob Arum, right? Yeah. So they're talking about Bob Arum, but Shakur had a couple fights since he left Bob Arum, and Tank was just talking to Tank about this back earlier this year. You know what I mean? When they were trying to work out a fight. So what do Bob Arum have to do with that fight for the last time that they was talking about this fight? Because
right. They tried to paint the picture that they actually made offers back in the day when Shakur's at 130. Because he said years ago we were trying to negotiate a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, and Shakur was like, really? And Shakur kind of, I'm be real with you, like Steven Espinoza, like respectfully, like, you know what I mean? That man be playing with words, man. He's a wordsmith.
Yeah, it's very unprofessional. Very unprofessional.
Look at his body language.
Saying things. He's saying one thing, then he's pulling back, and he's choosing his words as wisely as he can. He's beating around the bush, won't answer the questions. And you just gotta imagine that that's
bad business.
It's difficult to have to go through a man like that to ultimately get where you need to be. You need some sort of some advocacy, somebody who can represent you, who can talk with him, who can sit down and be like, yo, we need with a person like Steven Espinoza, you need that documentation, bro. Because that conversation is gonna be shaky as hell. You're gonna walk out of that room like you're gonna walk out of that room like, so did y'all get what he was saying? Right? You're gonna walk out that room
like, what just happened?
2 hours, like, yo, so did we get a fight or not? Did anybody?
It's like, yeah, you got to fight, but you got to fight for a cream soda and a meatball sandwich. What?
You're gonna walk out of that room very confused, and there's a good chance that a month later you're gonna find out that there is no fight, and he'll go out there and do an interview, and the narrative will be pushed that you were being difficult, you didn't agree to something, you the ones who didn't. He's gonna paint the picture that way, and it's just too much firewall to go through, and I don't know how much the Ali Act protects them or helps them, or what's in there, provisions in there that helps a situation like that move along. But you gotta say
nothing.
You don't think you don't have nothing to do with that?
That's what attracts a Dana White or a Turkey Al Sheik, and this is what makes a Turkey Al Sheik so adverse to negotiating with promoters, right? He's notoriously known for going directly to the fighters because that just gets
eliminates that.
too complicated, right?
Yeah.
Like talking to Oscar De La Hoya, I shake your hand in front of the camera. We say we're gonna make that fight happen between Virgil and Terrence or whatever have you. Then by the time you don't even leave the building, you're like, nah, we're gonna move Virgil this way, brother. We just shook hands on what we in front of the world. We just in front of the world, bro. I purposely confronted you on the stage, and you didn't even the sun didn't come up next morning, and you do an interview saying ain't nobody gonna force your hand. Like, what are we talking about?
Right. And it's no minutes, man. I need the minutes.
Yeah. What drives me crazy about these guys, man, and they get away with this stuff, man, because there's no accountability in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
When they get caught robbing people blind, you know what I'm saying? Just like the stuff we just talking about with De Los Santos, he has no accountability. He got away with it scot-free.
Right. The only thing he could do is what he did. The only thing he could do is what he did, which is you're fired. I'm not.
It should be a fine.
Anymore.
It should be a fine there. He should be suspended some kind of way. Something he should have to pay some type of way. He just cost that man $600,000.
And look, not for nothing, right? But David Benavidez, in my opinion, kind of carries it more like a boss, right? So David Benavidez is also working with Samson, right? So there's two different sides of the coin, right? You got that one side where you got an Edwin De Los Santos who's getting screwed over, or you got a Sebastian Fundora who's vacating belts, right? So he can make fights. So he can make fights with Tim Tszyu, have rematches, right? You got that one side, but then you have the other side of the David Benavidez who's like, yeah, we're going to Riyadh. Yeah, no, we're not fighting Jesse Hart. We're fighting David Morrell. I heard what you said before, but we're not doing that. And you have Samson Leakowitz working with David Benavidez falling right in line, right?
Because you know who to play with. You know who to play with.
Exactly, right? So clearly there's some provisions, or there's some people who know better or have access to certain information. So there's a way to move, but like you said, Red, these guys need to start learning more about their rights, learning more about what they can do so they can go ahead and activate a lot of these provisions that are probably there already for them to protect them from what we just saw happen with Samson Leakowitz and Edwin Santos. Mark, I want to bring you in the building. I know you've been quiet, you've been muted and everything. And I really want you to get in this conversation, man.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to him.
It's an interesting conversation, and there's a lot on the back end of a resolution coming on this topic, because clearly we got a new league coming, whether we like it or not. 2026, he's trying to roll out this contender series type of league. But at the end of the day,
come the Sharks. They smell blood.
At the end of the day, we just spoke about Edwin De Los Santos specifically in that situation, and I'm definitely also interested on how you felt about the Shakur. Did you see the Shakur Stevenson, Steven Espinosa Sway interview?
I didn't get to watch it in its entirety, but I was kind of confused as to why Steven Espinosa was even up there in the first place. That was the first thing that caught my attention. Not like disrespecting Steven or nothing like that. I was just genuinely curious as to why he was there, and I still kind of don't know why he was there. So if anybody could provide clarity as to why he was there for Shakur's interview, please let me know.
One of two things is I love that you said that, because I had the same concern. I said to myself, what is this dude doing up here? What does he have anything to do with Shakur Stevenson? He's a tank guy. He's a PBC guy. He's all these. What does he have to do with Shakur Stevenson? So I couldn't help but feel like I wouldn't be shocked in the next coming months if we don't see Shakur doing something with the PBC or doing something, some sort of negotiation. Shakur emphasized that he's a free agent. He spoke on that and all these different things. And the Gervonta Tank Davis conversation was clearly there. So I wouldn't be shocked in the next few months if something doesn't develop out of that. I hope it manifests when it's all said and done into an actual fight. But how did you feel about Shakur Stevenson? Well, did you see the part where Shakur Stevenson pretty much confronted Steven Espinosa on the narrative that's being pushed from that side of the conversation, as far as an offer being put out there and Shakur not taking the offer, or Shakur not making himself available, and pretty much just calling Steven Espinosa on his BS? And Steven Espinosa dialing back and all that, saying, no, I never offered you anything. I don't know why people are saying that. They're taking my words. They're twisting my words. He said all of that. You know what I mean? Like,
he definitely said that. Steven Espinosa also mentioned that they had reached out to Bob Arum and them to make a Tank fight. Didn't he say that as well?
Yes. And Shakur called him out on that as well.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know, man. Like when you look at how the way that could be true. You know what I mean? And most of the time, the fighter doesn't even know what's going on behind the scenes. It's almost like based off of what I've seen in the business for as long as I've been in it, the last one to know anything is the fighter. That's what I've been
That's a
noticing,
fact.
especially when they got managers and they got promoters. It's like it starts with the network. The network talks to the promoter. The promoter talks to the manager. The manager talks to the fighter. You see what I'm saying? So maybe it was a situation where Espinoza, who was working with Showtime at the time, that's the network, had reached out to Bob Arum and them. And maybe Bob Arum blocked it before he even got anywhere near Jay Prince or Shakur Stevenson. I really don't know what the truth is. Shakur, he's saying one thing. Stephen Espinoza, he's saying another thing. Gervonta Davis's team, they saying a whole different thing. Bro, at this point, I really don't know what's true and what's false. You know what I'm saying? So all it does is just really confuse me.
Me too.
And look, he made it clear that he's a free agent, so it made me even more curious as to why Steven was there.
Right.
You know what it seemed like to me though?
What he doing? I didn't understand it.
It seemed like it was a big commercial for American boxing. That's what it seemed like to me. It was two entities that were supposed to be actually opposing each other. And so they had this little back and forth. So it seemed like an odd couple. Why are you putting this odd couple on Sway? Shout out to Sway. He's from the town like I'm from the town. And it was just real weird. So I thought it was like a commercial. Sometimes they put dramatization in front of us so we tune in. So I think everybody felt like the PBC and other American promoters are failing right now. And I think that was supposed to be shedding some type of light, and maybe even bad publicity is better than no publicity. So that was my take on it, because it was weird.
It seemed like a relationship was being salvaged. It seemed like there was it was an intervention of sorts to bring Shakur Stevenson and representation of the PBC on a platform, on a neutral playing field, to where they could have their conversation, address the elephant in the room, get that out the way, get back on the same page, and maybe focus together again at achieving an ultimate goal. And it looks like the goal, from the outside looking in, it looks like the goal was a Gervonta Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson fight. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to ask the panel here for sure, what is the likeliness, do you guys think, of Gervonta Tank Davis fighting a crazy catchweight fight with Jake Paul, right, in December, and then after that fight, making all that money, cutting weight to come back to 135 and fighting a Shakur Stevenson?
Let me actually answer this first, because I got to get up out of here to do my live after this. Appreciate you, Clay.
Definitely.
We was on here for a hot ass minute too.
Yeah, about 2 hours for sure. Time flies.
Yeah. When you having fun.
Yes, sir.
Right.
But what's the likelihood of that happening? It's hard to tell with Gervonta Davis, man, because based off of the things he's saying, it doesn't seem like it's going to be very likely, because he went from saying that he had a 6 to 7 fight deal, which I heard Shakur Stevenson address as well, to saying that he's going to retire at the end of this year. You know what I mean? There's only so many months left within this year. You know what I'm saying? We're in the 9th month. We in the 4th quarter. So now it's like, you don't got that much time left. I'm assuming that Jake Paul fight is going to be the last fight that you have for the year. Are you done? Or are you going to backtrack on that and then come back into the sport? I don't know, man. Like, it just doesn't seem very likely to me that he's going to do the Jake Paul fight, then turn around and get right into a Shakur Stevenson fight, because, that's not even the only fight that's being demanded out of Tank right now. People still want to see that rematch with Lamont. So It's like, what? I just don't see him fighting Shakur. I really don't. I think that what people want out of Tank and what he wants out of himself is two different things. I think his fans want him to be great. I think that his fans want him to fight the best. I think Tank just wants to get money and get the hell out. That's what I think. I think that him and his fans, they're what they both prioritize, it's not in alignment right now. So and I think that's why a lot of people are, not really too fond of Gervonta Davis at this moment.
Right. I think, and I agree with you, and that's why. And the reason I say that is because, Steven Espinosa is there for a reason. He was up there for a reason. And the conversation was definitely around the Gervonta Tank Davis situation. And it makes me feel like, is he trying to sell that fight again? Is he trying to get some traction, some attention to that fight so that maybe he can sell Tank on coming back, you know what I'm saying, into the fight? Maybe get somebody with some money to get behind the fight to make it worthwhile for Tank. Tank is about to get paid $40 to $50 million to go fight Jake Paul. Tank is very aware of his value. He's very aware of what he can get. Even though he didn't take a deal with Turkey, he knows Turkey was willing to give him multiple millions of dollars to make fights over there. He didn't take it because he didn't want to go over there and bend the knee to what Turkey was doing over there, nor work with Eddie Hearn. And he wanted to be loyal to Al Heyman and the PBC, but that doesn't mean he wasn't aware of what he can get based off what he did with Ryan Garcia and all those things. That's why big promises were made to Tank when the Amazon deal was made with the PBC, and Tank thought he was walking away with a $200+ million 5 to 7 fight deal because he was not going away cheap. He wants his money guaranteed. Which is probably the reason why they never really offered the fight to Shakur, because they knew they couldn't get the money that Tank was going to want for the fight. The PBC wasn't able to come up with it. Amazon didn't seem to be interested in cutting the check, and Tank wasn't interested in taking a fight without the price being right. So he did the Lamont Roach fight and hoped, and I believe that he's been getting fed a story about it's coming, champ, it's coming, champ, it's coming, champ. We're working on it. Amazon is just waiting. They're getting used to the model. They're getting used to the frequency of fights. They're getting used to the money that the fights are making. So we're going to get it done. I think that same conversation is probably getting set towards an Errol Spence and a Jamel Charlo and all those guys who sat on the sideline and weren't active at all since the PBC's left Showtime. And I think it came down to a conclusion for Tank to where they weren't talking the right way. He was tired of playing the game. There was real money there with the Jake Paul situation, and he pulled the trigger on that. You don't see the PBC name on the Jake Paul card. You don't see the PBC name anywhere near it. Tank is operating as a free agent damn near as far as his Jake Paul fight is concerned. So I see Steven Espinosa and Shakur Stevenson on a panel on Sway. What do I see? I see them trying to bring attention to the fight, them trying to build a fan base that's going to support the fight in a way to where they're attracting investors to put money up to put the fight together. But I think it's far-fetched. After Tank hits 150, 160, and competes at that weight class, he goes all the way up there. For him to cut that weight and come down to 135 and you know what I mean, and do that in a real way, you're going to have to give him some money. You're going to have to give that man some money that makes sense after he's gotten $40 to $50 million in his pocket. That's all I'm saying.
Right. All right, man. I'm going to get up out of here, man. Shout out to everybody in the panel. Shout out to the boy Clay for bringing me on.
Appreciate you.
Before I go, though, that boy Bubs Boxing, he wilding in the comments.
Oh, right, listen, now. You ignore him. You gotta ignore him.
Can you believe what he's saying? He said, I'm a Tank fan, and I don't give a shit about a Shakur fight. So what are we talking about? See, that mentality right there, is the reason why Tank don't feel the need to give the fans what they want, because he got fans like this that enable duckery. But anyways, I'm going to get up out of here, man. I hope y'all have a blessed, beautiful night, man. Salute to the chat. Salute to the panel. I'm about to be live on Mazuma TV. So once this live is over, feel free to stop by, man.
We'll be over soon. Send them over, man.
Show.
Peace.
Salute, Mark. Salute. Yeah, man, it is what it is, man. Shout out to my guy Shelton Moore in the building. I see him. I seen you there, Shelton. I just didn't want to have like 6 people up here. How you doing, man?
Salute.
Oh, that's cool, man. I was driving anyway. I just got to the pad. Yeah, I looked at a little bit of the weigh-in where I left where I was at. Both of them boys look like they cut up like a bag of dope.
Yeah.
I think we got to fight, fellas. I think we got to fight.
Oh, 100%, man. I think both those guys are dialed in, man. What do you think about the weigh-in this morning? Did you see the weigh-in this morning? The one that
the official weigh-in. Yeah. Hey, look, man. I think Canelo is going to come in maybe 180, 182.
Right.
I think Bud's gonna come in about 175, bro.
Yeah.
About 175.
I think Bud's going to come in somewhere between 175, 180 as well. I think they're going to be close. I think they're going to be about the same size, man. That's one thing that I walked away with that face-off again. And we've watched multiple face-offs with these guys. We watched the face-off in the ring after the skull fight. We watched the face-off at the press conference. We watched like 2 face-offs there. We watched the face-off at the press conference they just had, and we just watched the face-off they just had right now. And, you know, that size difference thing, that whole entire Bud is a small guy, and you know,
no, sir.
I haven't seen it yet.
No, sir.
That's what they're banking on. That's what they're banking on because they don't want to be wrong.
And if that, and once again, anybody who's talked about Canelo Alvarez winning this fight and how he's going to win this fight, that you, even down to Shane Mosley, some of the pundits be like, "Yo, he's just too big." I don't see that, and I haven't heard you guys talk about Canelo's pedigree, IQ, him outboxing Terrence Crawford, him beating Terrence Crawford to the punch, him being better than Terrence Crawford. I hear you guys saying
only
that
knockout.
It's a technicality, right? Like Bud would beat this guy on an even playing field, but this just isn't an even playing field. Canelo's just too big for this guy. I don't see it. What do you guys see?
Well, me personally, people don't take in consideration that Bud is not leaving it in the gym. He don't have to cut as much weight. So he's going to come in way fresher. He's going to be stronger. You know what I mean? Because he's just, he basically get to work out and work on his skills and on his craft. He don't have to be cutting weight. He ain't going to be coming in head hurting, you know what I'm saying, from doing all that weight cutting. I really feel like Bud is going to fight him on the inside. I don't think Bud is going to fight on mid-range or long range. With everybody keep talking about the reach. I think Bud gonna fight him close. Bud gonna keep him resetting because Canelo got a problem with if you stay sticking and moving on Canelo can't punch unless he's set. So you're gonna keep him resetting, give him 5, 6 shots at a time, not no ones and twos. Just keep him resetting and keep moving. That's all he got to do to beat Canelo and be mindful of those spanks. Him switching levels with that hook, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he's going to be turning them. I think he's going to be. He's gonna make it cerebral. And I keep saying that. I'm going to emphasize these certain words that I've been saying constantly for the past couple of months. One of them being cerebral. And I think the reason I think it's going to be a big play in this game, I think, first of all, that body campaign, that's another one. I think the body campaign is going to be very interesting. Both these guys are going to be trying to attack the body. Canelo's going to feel a need to attack the body because he's not going to want Terrence Crawford to be mobile. But I think he's going to find that Terrence Crawford's not going to try to be as mobile as he's anticipating him to be. And I think the psychology behind that is also going to be diabolical because I believe there's going to be a certain diabolical energy from Canelo Alvarez's team as far as Terrence not moving around as much as they think he's going to move around is going to make them understand that Terrence is not scared. And if Terrence is able to weather a lot of that storms, they're going to realize, like, damn, bro, we're not hurting him as bad as we thought we were going to hurt him. And number two, when he's winning those exchanges on the inside and he's attacking that body and he's outpointing Canelo Alvarez in that way, you're going to see him get frustrated and you're going to see him become defensive. And you might even see Canelo Alvarez operating off his back foot in this fight based off the fact that he's not going to be able to get that space he wants to get to let those combinations go, right? He's going to want to let those combinations go, and I think you're going to see Terrence Crawford do a decent job at smothering the offense of Canelo Alvarez with his offense and his timing. I think it's going to be real interesting dynamic to watch that happen, and it's going to be that's what's going to make this fight really exciting.
Yeah, I kind of see Terrence win the fight by actually backpedaling with a right cross. I think some of his best punches has been on the back foot because it catches people off. If you miss him, that reflex punch is really a power punch for him. So when you miss a punch, let's say you try to come in with that, that Canelo over the top right. If you miss Crawford and he's on the back foot and he swings and to catch that chin, that's usually a knockout punch for him. So I do think that he's not going to come in there and rush him and try to wrestle him because people say, oh, well, Crawford's strong too, and he's going to show him. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a cerebral. I think it's going to be, okay, come on in. I'm going to jab you in your face. You're going to get mad. You're going to try to throw one of them haymakers, and I'm going to back up, and I'm going to catch you at an angle. I think that's what we're going to see if he can do that, and especially that jab to the body. A lot of people are scared to jab to that body of Crawford. I mean, Crawford of Canelo, because if you don't connect, he's going to connect. Right. But what I've been noticing is that, see, Canelo, people say Canelo got great defense. I'm not taking away anything from his defense, but it ain't great. He's been shorter than most people, which is hard to headhunt a short person.
And that's why they don't go to his body.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking the levels that Crawford going to change and get down to that level. I want to see if Crawford's going to do that, because I think Crawford's going to get down to that level to hit his body, and I think Crawford's going to fire up the back foot. That's what that's how I see him winning.
He's going to make him pay. Shout out to everybody in the building. Hold on, Sheldon, hold on. 45 people in the building. Shout out to everybody who is in the building. Please remember to hit the like button while you're in here. And definitely, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, take a moment and go ahead and do that as well. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys in advance. Go ahead, Shelton. You was about to build.
I personally believe Bud gonna step to him.
Yeah.
I believe Bud gonna break it. I don't see Bud doing what Charlo did. I don't see Bud doing what Munguia did, what Berlanga did. I say Bud is going to step to him and force him to fight. Canelo is the type of dude who likes to come forward and dictate the pace. I think Bud is going to take that away from him. Bud is going to set the pace. Bud is going to step to him. And if Bud can take his power, which I believe he can, it's going to be a long night for Canelo.
Yeah, he's going to get hit a lot. That's what I picture. I don't know how effective, people, shout out to Tim Bradley and a lot of other pundits in the space, Coach Breadman, a lot of these different pundits in the space are like, listen, Crawford will mess around and stop Canelo. In an extreme situation, they can see that happening. I could see it as well, but I'm not calling for that as much. But what I do call for, and I am anticipating seeing, is effective punching. I think Terrence is going to do effective punching. I think his offense is going to be effective. You're going to see Canelo respect it, and I'm telling you, I think we might see Canelo get hurt in this fight. Salute, man. Hunt, what's good with you, family? No doubt. Yeah,
how you doing? Salute. Hey, I want to play.
You're good.
I want to argue the other side real quick.
Okay.
I want to argue the other side real quick. I'm going for Crawford, but I just want to, make the show a little bit more. I think people are underrating. I think people are underrating Canelo's boxing technique and boxing skill. People think he's just a come forward slug Mexican fighter, but he got some boxing skill. He got a good jab, good high guard, goes to the body well, good power. I think people are underrating his skill. You know what I mean?
I don't think people are underrating his skill, Manhunt. What I think is happening is when you get to this level, it's about who's better than the other guy, right? And I think when we're talking about, 8 out of 10 times, Canelo's going to get in the ring, and we're going to talk about his skills and say that, he's probably going to be the more skilled guy. But this fight right here is a fight to where it's going to be the intangibles. It's going to be the inches, like Al Pacino said in Any Given Sunday. In a game like this, when you're performing at a high level like the NFL, for example, it's the inches start to count, right? It's about, okay, yeah, you're good, I'm good, but this is a first down and this is a fourth down, right? True. Inches. Yep. And I think it's going to play its part in this fight. And the question is going to come down to, yes, Canelo's going to show that he can box. He has the ability to do a lot of things. But the question is Terrence Crawford going to be that much better? And if he is that much better, it can make the biggest difference. Terrence talked about it with Sean Porter, where he said everybody can be skilled, right? But is everybody going to be able to wield it the same way? Do this at the right time. Be defensively responsible when you're supposed to, but at the same time, still have an offense. Are you going to still be able to get yours off and be defensively responsible to get in the way of him getting his off, because he can get his off. He's more than capable of getting his off. So this game that Terrence is so intrigued and excited about is going to be, I think I can play chess better than this guy. I think he's good. I think he can beat most people. I think for sure he can beat me. But when I'm on my A game, how long is he going to stay on his A game? And when it's all said and done, Crawford also said one time, we can go into this back room, but let's see who comes out the room when it's all said and done. Sure. That's how I feel about it. And I think that's the game we're going to see be played tomorrow night. And look, Canelo Alvarez, let's not get it twisted, 50-50 fight. And those words are powerful because it means something. It means that we're expecting and we want Terrence Crawford to win, but it also means that we're clearly taking into consideration that he can lose this fight. Not by punches, but he could play the wrong game and end up on the wrong side.
I would definitely say, as far as Canelo, his feints are like top 10. And that's how he's been getting a lot of his knockouts.
You hear what
And
Ryan said? You hear what Ryan Garcia said about it? You heard what Ryan Garcia said about his feints?
No, I didn't.
What Reynoso said he makes him feint hard. That's why he feints real hard, because when he go up and down, you have to react. You know what I mean? That's why.
Okay, yeah. And you know why? And you know why I brought that up? Because I think Terrence's last fight was on purpose. That guy feinted the whole damn fight.
Mm-hmm. It was hard even for me as a fan watching from the outside, and I was like, yo, this is some irky jerky. This dude is it was constant, and I don't think people give respect to Madrimov, bro. Listen, people try to judge Madrimov off that Virgil Ortiz fight. That man had pneumonia, bro. I don't care if y'all want to believe it or not. I just don't got time to care. I'm telling you what it is.
Kills your gas tank.
The man's conditioning was compromised, bro, in that fight. And if you look at the first 3 to 4 rounds, Madrimov was giving Virgil all he can handle, and he wasn't doing well with it. That's why I keep telling everybody, look out for this Erickson Lubin Virgil fight. Don't be surprised if Erickson Lubin doesn't take that win. I'm leaning towards Virgil because, listen, why not? He's shown improved. He's an undefeated fighter, but brother,
not really.
He didn't. I mean, right?
Not really.
Right. So, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying that people aren't giving Madrimov the respect he deserves to have in the fight that he had with Terrence Crawford, which I think was more of what you should expect from Madrimov when he's healthy, not the version who fought Virgil. But that being said, Canelo ain't fighting Terrence Crawford like no Israel Madrimov, bro. Don't get it. That's not happening.
No. He don't have those type of skills.
Yeah, that's what they always.
Here, bro,
that's what they bank on.
This is what I'm gonna tell you. Canelo Alvarez is one of the greatest fighters of this generation,
especially a Mexican fighter for sure.
He's one of the greatest fighters, period, of this generation. Period. He's just not better than this guy.
Thank you. That's what we're talking about. That's what it comes down.
He's just not better than this guy. That's all it is. I think this guy is special.
When you get to this level, Shelton, that's what it comes down to, right? It's like we can't discredit, and we're not going to start the game of discrediting Canelo Alvarez. He is who we think he is and who y'all know him to be. It's just when you get to this level, who's better? That's all. Who's better?
Hey, we not all gonna discredit him, but I'm gonna discredit him because I'm just that type of person. I'm the irritated genius.
The town in the building.
I'm gonna let you know. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna let you know because I don't feel like. Oh, sorry about that. I muted myself. I feel like he ducked a lot of fights, and Terrence ain't never ducked a fight. So that's how I am. I'm not gonna take up the space and go back and forth with anybody on that.
Well, look, also, I'm going to bring this to the panel, right? Because people have been talking about the triangle theory. They've been operating on that, right? Canelo's knocked out bigger guys. He's fought bigger guys, blah, 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 blah. But here's my question, right? Because I'm one of those guys. Call me a pessimistic, call me a cynical, whatever you want to call me. I believe that Canelo Alvarez went up to 168 and took advantage of a lot of slow, big dudes. And he had the punching power to be able to do it, just like a Gervonta Tank Davis has done it to, let's say, Mario Barrios, right? Like most people wouldn't have survived that. Gervonta's short. He's not a big guy, but he has enough punching power to make the difference, right? He can close the gap with that punching power, and I think Canelo Alvarez was able to deliver that power and close that gap in between him and a Kovalev or him and a Caleb Smith or him and a Jaime Munguia and these guys who were just letting off punches. He was able to take advantage of them, like he said, by the way. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Like he said to Max Kellerman, these guys were just slow, and I didn't have to move my head that much. I didn't have to do that much. I was able to see those punches coming from a mile away when I fought them, and I think that's an advantage, and I think a lot of people give that to Canelo Alvarez as accolades, right? They tried to celebrate him and say, yo, you see what he did? He challenged himself. And I say, nay. The challenge would have been dominating all those guys at 154, 160, the way you try to do it at 168, because those guys were fast. When you got in there with the Arizlani Lara, it wasn't sweet for you. When you got in there with an Amir Khan, until you knocked him out, he was getting into that ass. You know what I'm saying? He was handling you. When you fought Floyd Mayweather, he made you look he made you look like you didn't belong in the ring with him. And when you got in there with an athletic Dimitri Bivol, who even though he was bigger than you, was more athletic and had better footwork, you got frustrated and you went in your high guard and you laid on them ropes and you waited for those rounds to be done and you hope that Dimitri would make a mistake, which he didn't. So I don't know, and I'll land my plane here and say I don't know what fight Canelo Alvarez had at 168 pounds that prepared him to fight Terrence Crawford.
Now my question is it anything Crawford could do to Canelo in this fight that would taint Canelo's, appearance as a great boxer? If he goes 11-1, like he did with Bivol, does that say anything about his career, or he's already solidified?
If he goes out like Errol Spence did, it's gonna look bad.
Yeah, if he stops him, definitely
like that. If he goes out like Errol, where he just gets beat to every punch and he's leaking and his eyes swole up and his face gets disfigured. Like if it gets bad, like how it did for Errol, I do think that questions will come up. Me personally, though, I'll tell you, no. I'm gonna give him his respect, man, because I think he's a great fighter. I just think Terrence is an amazing fighter. What it would do is make me celebrate Terrence even more and be like, that's that dude. But I wouldn't take away from Canelo because nobody.
The dude is done.
How does that saying go? Yeah, he did it to me. You do it to me, right? That's how the saying goes. Yeah. Canelo would always say that, and I would stand behind him to say that. Yeah, Terrence did do that to me. You do it to me.
Right. I don't think it should taint him. I think it'd be more of a better look for Terrence Crawford to say how great he was. I don't think you could take nothing from Canelo because Canelo already undid so much. So I feel like Canelo is, who he is. The only thing that I think would taint Canelo is something he already have done, and that's been fighting these lesser fights that he know he can win. I think that if anything else, and not fighting Benavidez, if anything else, that should hurt his career more so than losing to another great fighter.
Mm-hmm. If anything taints his career, bro, it's gonna be not fighting Benavidez when he was at 68. Because everybody knows
I agree with that one.
Everybody knows.
Right.
If Terrence 12 owes him, if Terrence beats him up, if Terrence stops him, it doesn't taint his career because he got stopped by the best fighter in the world.
There you go.
Ain't no shame to lose to Terrence Crawford. And that's how he sees it. He would rather lose, if he gonna lose, he would rather lose to the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world than lose to David Benavidez.
You're right. 100%. Somebody who would probably, and let's be honest and put it all out there. If he did lose to David Benavidez, he'd probably feel like that big ass motherfucker just leaned on me and beat my ass because he's that much bigger than me. He's not that nice, and he didn't want to give
that shit. He put it in my chest.
Right. He said that's all that it was. That dude ain't better than me. He just way bigger than me, and he throws 100 punches around, bro, and it's not fair. That's how he feels about it. Shout out to J.R. Spock, who says, Claymore Rain, can you ask the panel, would Crawford beat Bivol at 175? No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Bivol's too big. Nah.
He too big. See, the thing is, everybody like to say that because they were talking about Crawford fighting Benavidez.
I think that should be next. That should be next.
He's not giving up. So he's not giving up all his attributes to fight Canelo. You know what I mean? They match up pretty good. I feel like when you start getting into these 6'2" guys coming in the ring, 200 pounds, I understand. It's the weight class, this and that. I get what people are trying to say, but Crawford is just coming up there to fight a guy at 168. He's not going there to campaign at 168. It's right. You get what I'm saying?
And Crawford won't fight David Benavidez for the same reason Canelo don't want to fight David Benavidez.
Exactly.
I have no problem. I think it is what
he won't fight him. He won't fight Burrell. He won't fight Bivol. He won't fight any of those guys because they're too big. But you ain't.
He giving up too much.
But you ain't, little dude.
People don't understand.
You ain't too big. I can beat you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. But that's why I say, although I always go on record to say that Canelo you ducked David Benavidez. I'm sorry. I don't know if it hurts your feelings. I don't care. I don't care about his fans saying it. Well, he ducked him. But I will say he ducked him. And I'm going to say that, but he ducked him for a good reason, in my opinion. It doesn't take away from my opinion who Canelo Alvarez is. It's just that Canelo Alvarez is also not stupid. You know what I'm saying? He's also understanding, like, I make a lot of money. Why would I put myself in the ring with this dude? He said it. Why? He said, all David Benavidez has to offer me is 20-pound rehydration on the day of the fight. You know what I'm saying? That's all he's going to do is be big as hell. And I'm going to have to work my ass off to beat this dude, and he'll mess around and beat me.
Only thing I don't like about that is he fought Berlanga. He was the same size. You know, these guys the same size. You want fought guys
Berlanga is nowhere near. But Berlanga is nowhere near as skilled as Benavidez. Berlanga's trash.
I know that, but I'm basing it off of his excuse.
It's the work rate of Benavidez. His work rate is just out of this world for the size. It's crazy.
I get that, but what I'm saying is his excuse is he's only bringing 20 pounds. He's more accomplished than Berlanga. He's more accomplished than Munguia. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so his excuse is not valid. He should have just came out and been honest.
I think he was. I think he said it. I think Canelo did say it. He kept it real. He said he brings 20 pounds. He told me, not me personally, but when I saw him do that interview at the Edgar Berlanga at the Edgar Berlanga press conference, and he said what he said, that he was going to need $200 million. You know what I'm saying? To fight David Benavidez, because all he brought me was this weight. To me, he kept it mad real. I heard it in his voice. I'm not fighting that big ass dude for nothing less than generational money, because at the end of the day, I don't got nothing to prove to the world. I already have a crazy resume. I'm already making the most money. I'm the biggest prize fighter in the game, face of boxing. I'd be doing him a complete favor and doing no disservice, and I'd be doing myself the biggest disservice to put myself in with a young bull, 6 foot, whatever he is, coming in 200 plus pounds in the ring that night, punching all over me 100 times every round. Not to say that Canelo can't beat David Benavidez, but just to understanding that it would be an uphill battle, to say the least, to beat him.
And Spence had a bigger heart. Go ahead, my bad. And Spence had that same decision to make when he faced Crawford. That's the same decision. And Spence said, "I'll do it at the end of the tunnel," because he knew it was gonna be lights out at that tunnel. So,
well, look, Spence,
you know what I'm saying?
Also got confronted with the same demons with Sebastian Fundora, right? And he didn't do it. Right, like he went in the ring, and he did. I was gonna put the video, but I don't think I have it on here no more. He went in there and confronted Sebastian Fundora and acted like the fight was gonna happen. But when he went back home, he saw how he gonna go kick his ass. Right? He's like, bro,
I disagree with my man. I believe Spence really believed all that shit that his fans were saying. He believed all that shit that he heard online. He really believed he could beat Bud. He thought Bud was too small. He really believed that shit. That's why he didn't quit during the fight. They had to stop the fight. Earl would not quit.
Man, I thought he could beat him, bro. I lost $100 on that fight.
Bud had to show him.
Earl's younger than you. Got to remember. Earl been watching Crawford. Earl saw Crawford kick off before he got kicked off. Earl knew he was gonna get his ass whooped. That's why he said, "Man, I'll fight you later on."
Let me get this money first.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I believe Earl actually thought he could win. I think Bud proved to him that he couldn't.
Yeah. See, Earl, he never had no super high IQ to me. Earl looked like he was just the type of dude that he was just a dog. He just go in there and beat the shit out you. Excuse my language. You know, he'd just beat you. He wasn't cerebral. You know what I'm saying? Or he didn't have a super IQ. You know, he'd just beat you up. He just beat you up. Literally straight like that. You know what I'm saying? And he'd just take your wheel. But see, a dude like Crawford, that if somebody that's a dog just like you, but he has more of a higher boxing pedigree, you know, you're gonna fall to that guy. I always told people, I argue with so many people, man, that Crawford was gonna dog Spence and it was gonna be easy.
Listen, man. I'm seeing Shakur right now.
If you guys remember the press conference, right? If you remember the press conference, Bud told Earl to his face, "There's nothing he can do that I haven't seen before. This is not going to be as close a fight as you people think." Bud told him that.
He did. And he held
Hell
up
yeah,
on
he
him.
told him that, and he meant it too when he said it.
Stood on him. He about to get
I
active.
promise.
In
Right.
the Sean Porter interview, he said that he had been seeing Errol Spence a long time ago. Spence used to come to his fights when he was a champion at 140 and see him. He said he'd been known Errol ain't had nothing for him. He said there was no fluke in that. That's why he said that Errol wasn't a Hall of Fame fighter when he said what he said. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that all the way, but Errol, but Terrence
is he? Oh wait.
No,
Stop
he
right there,
is.
Clay.
He is.
I don't
You
know.
right
I mean,
there?
that's
He
another
is.
conversation, but I'm
Is
gonna say that Terrence Crawford had an honest opinion. He rated Errol Spence well before they got into the ring with each other. And he really, like he said, I'm not hating on Errol. I'm being honest. That man just wasn't on my level. He just never. He was good for what he was doing and against the opponent, but he knew when he came to 147. He said that's why I called Errol out immediately when I came to 147. He knew that me that he had to fight, and I knew what I was going to do to him when I got in the ring with him. He wasn't on my level.
now, is he a Hall of Fame fighter, Clay? Is he?
Yes, sir.
I think in today's space and how the Hall of Fame works,
Don't do that, Clay. Don't do that.
I'm just being honest.
Don't do that.
Listen, if I tell you he's not a Hall of Famer and in 5 years he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, what they're going to say? I thought he wasn't a Hall of Famer, Clay. Right? So I'm just giving you the reality.
Only thing you can tell us is would you put him in? That's all you can say.
I'm listening.
What's in the
I
background?
don't necessarily believe he's there. I think there's more for him to do, and he didn't do it. I think he let Terrence Crawford really, you know what I mean? He never answered those questions. We don't know if it was a bad weight cut. We don't know if that was just a one-off in that night. He never gave us nothing else to go on, and except for what Terrence did to him, what Terrence said about him. So me personally, I think there's more for him to do. But if you're asking me, will he go or not? I'm telling you, there's a good chance he does go. Just like Gervonta Tank Davis, there's a good chance he goes into the Hall of Fame because of the influence and because of everything he did, and because of all the fights, because of this crazy fan base, because of how viral he was as far as, you know, just his effect on the game, his influence on the game. He was a trendsetter in so many ways. You see how all the fans won't even let you live. You can't even speak about that man without them jumping on you. So I think all of that influence gives him a potential way into the Hall of Fame. I mean, Sylvester Stallone is in the Hall of Fame.
Is he first ballot?
Not first ballot.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he is, but once again, wouldn't be surprised. You heard?
See, the thing is, Spence fought a lot of good fights, man, before that fight.
For sure.
He hit 3. He won 3 out of the 4 belts. He made it real easy for Terrence Crawford to be undisputed. You know, so
So basically, so wait a minute. So let me get this right. So basically, you putting him in the same category since he only fought in one division as Marvin Hagler.
No,
I didn't say he in the same category.
First of all, if he goes into the Hall of Fame, it ain't gonna be because I voted him in, brother. It ain't gonna be because they asked my opinion. I'm answering 2 questions. I'm telling you personally, I don't think he's there, but I'm also letting you know that I wouldn't be surprised if that committee over there put him in there.
Look at
I can accept that. I can accept that. Because me personally, I don't think he did enough because, okay, he won a belt from Kell Brook. Kell Brook is borderline Hall of Fame. I don't think he gets in. I think Sean Porter gets in. I do not think Yordanis Ugas gets in. I do not.
No, doesn't.
I do not think Danny Garcia gets in.
Damn.
I think Mikey Garcia gets in.
You don't think Danny gets in there?
Nah.
Yeah, that was kind of rough. I thought Danny got in.
Wait. Y'all think Keith
he
gets
lost
in?
every big fight he had at 47. He lost.
Y'all
Every
think
one
Keith
of them.
gets in?
Who?
Thurman. You think Keith gets in?
Keith wasted his.
I don't think so. He hasn't done enough. He's been inactive so much. He's been hurt so much. I don't think so.
He wasted his best.
Well, I guess the question is, do belts get you in?
Not by themselves, no. Because if belts got you in, Simon Brown would have already been in.
So what's the
So
criteria?
now we have to
what
judge.
are you guys looking at exactly?
Yeah, I know, because now you have to judge who you fought And was they in their prime? And but what injury did they have before you fought them? Because somebody could have softened them up. It gets real complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had to
You gotta you judge championships, titles in multi divisions, and impact on the sport. Now, for me, a lot of people liked Errol Spence. I understand that. I was here for the whole build up, the whole deal. I don't think Errol Spence had no big impact on the sport. I just don't.
He was Tank before Tank was Tank.
Yeah,
he was a big draw.
He was a face of the PBC, man.
How are you a big draw when you're? Wait. Let me ask you this. Hold on. Let me ask you this. Listen to me now.
Okay.
How are you a big draw when your biggest pay-per-view was 350,000 before Crawford?
He packed out Dallas Cowboys.
Wasn't as big as 600,000 before Crawford?
No, 350. Mikey Garcia.
He was the biggest consistent seller for PBC though.
Does 350 makes you 350?
I think in that time period.
At that time, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
350 was pretty decent around that time. That's kind of why I say
325 was the second one he had. The second biggest one he had was 325 with Sean, and then he had 650 with Bud.
But it was consistently though. He stayed around that 200,000 to 300,000 mark.
I think. Errol Spence just needed to make a comeback fight after the Terrence Crawford fight. Get it? If you got a belt at 154, I think he's Hall of Famer.
Look, Arturo Gatti got in, so hey, what do I know?
My thing is these guys ain't fighting. These guys ain't fighting them fights like how Spence fought all them cats at 147. A lot of these fighters these days in time, they not fighting the fights like how Crawford.
That's why I said Danny don't get in, because every time Danny had a big fight at 47, he lost. That's why I say Danny don't get in, because every time he had a big fight at 47, he lost.
Like you all think Broner getting in the Hall of Fame?
No.
The youngest 4-division champion in history, yeah, he'll get in. He won't be first ballot, but he'll get in.
And he fought 4 other fights. They moved him like Tank, but Tank wasn't fighting the fights.
Bro, people disrespect Broner. People disrespect Broner's name, bro.
You're right. Adrian might go. For real.
He was losing.
The youngest 4-division champion in boxing history. Of course he's in. Of course he's in.
You're right.
Broner was great, bro.
Broner was nice. Man. They just moved him too fast. They should have kind of slowed. They went from moving him too fast and got Tank and didn't move him at all. They didn't make him fight no fights.
I got a question for y'all. I saw this on Twitter. Who has a better all-time career, Gervonta or Adrian? Overall,
Adrian, hands down.
Adrian.
See, people saying Tank. I'm like, y'all tripping. Tank?
Way better fights.
That's why I'm saying though. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying Tank is gonna mess around and go to the Hall of Fame, because he had that kind of influence. He got people feeling that way for real. A lot of people feel like that, but hell no, Adrian hands down, bro.
You know who Errol's career mirrors for me, fellas? It mirrors Tito's. Tito Trinidad.
Okay.
It mirrors that. His career mirrors that.
I see what you're saying.
Good, really good. Really good. Just not, he wasn't the top guy.
See, the problem
they thought he was the top guy, but he wasn't.
That was the fight that we should have seen, Crawford versus Thurman at 147.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That was the fight.
Say it again.
That would have been a great fight. Crawford versus Thurman would have been a great fight. That's the fight we didn't see. That
it would have. But Thurman,
that was the real fight.
But now remember now, let's do revisionist history. Everything he could to stay away from Bud. You guys remember that?
He did. Yeah.
And Errol.
Oh no! Yeah. Nobody even respects the WBO belt. That's not even the real belt. You remember that?
Yeah. I remember.
Guys, it's about that time for me.
Thurman didn't want nothing to do with Bud.
Yeah, it's about that time for me. I'm about to close it up. Tomorrow, obviously. I think I'm covering the fight, no doubt, Shelton. I think I'm covering the fight.
Go Bud
on Blue Blood channel. I think we're live. I don't know for sure, but I think that's what's going to end up happening.
Hey, Blue just sent me a picture, Clay. Blue, Mark, and Senior just sent me a picture, bro.
Did they? Blue was on.
Yeah, they out there. They out there doing their thing, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send it to Rez. He can send it to you, bro. I'm gonna send it to Rez. He can send it to you.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, man. Be safe, y'all. It was good talking to y'all, bro.
Nah, good panel today.
Easy.
Good looking, Clay.
Everybody in the building, no doubt, Red. Everybody in the building, thank you for showing up, man. Great weigh-in. We got a fight tomorrow. Both fighters are healthy, looking good. No excuses. We're gonna figure out tomorrow, man. Who's who, right? And I'm looking forward to a great event, great undercard. We'll be popping off tomorrow. I don't have the time yet, but it will be going down. I might go up obviously I'll be going up a little earlier as well. But I appreciate everybody. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the super chats. Hit the like button on your way out the building. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take an opportunity to go ahead and do that, man. Until the next one, at this point, we out.